Hello, and welcome to a newly laid out High Rollers. Oh, it's very exciting.
We can actually see each other across
people can see each other.
We're not crammed in.
Everyone's going to get annoyed because I'm going to do this and this, but it's going to be down and it's the wrong way round because... Oh, no, that's actually right. Yeah, that's good.
Mark is at the centre of the table at the end.
Yeah.
Like, you know...
Like a Dungeon Master
Like a Dungeon Master should be, and we're opposites on the table.
So,
it's real nice.
The room has been finished, so the contractors came in and they finished up all the stone walls, so we could probably do that. Kim?
You swearing at me?
I didn't.
You did?
No, I didn't.
Children, welcome to High Rollers Dungeons & Dragons, the D&D campaign here on the Yogscast Twitch.
So I'm opposite Kim.
I'm your Dungeon Master, Mark Sherlock Humes. Joining me, we have Katie.
Hi.
We have Chris Trott.
Hi.
We have Kim.
Yo!
That's your camera there. Well, that's to find it. We have back in action as a special guest for this final epic battle, Matthew Toffolo.
Yay!
We're all in the wrong place. We're all in the wrong
How
place.
many years?
Yeah.
Who joins us back?
Oh no! We're literally all in the wrong seat.
Oh.
I'm Reynard! Look at me, I'm so
Well, no,
great!
only you two need to swap. Oh no, you two, yeah, okay. Well,
fix it.
We'll fix it in the break.
We'll fix the overlay.
We'll fix it, fine. And also this guy, Tom Hazel.
No, it's darkness, no parents.
I think you said something about being pregnant. I was like,
That's what I thought you said as well. I'm sure that's what you
You
said.
just outed me!
He keeps asking if everyone's pregnant. No? What? Just me?
What?
Anyway, welcome to High Rollers. A couple of things. Firstly, thank you to Chris Trott for my birthday present that he finally got me. It's my little. This is from Penny Arcade. I finally got one. I've wanted one of these for ages. Green flame. So thank you for that. A couple of other announcements to do. So, Insomnia 62. That's coming up soon. We've got an awesome live show on Saturday, the 31st of March, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. It's £10 a ticket. You don't need to have an Insomnia Day ticket to come and see it. You just need to buy a ticket to the show, our live show itself.
Unless you want to meet us, and then you do need to buy a day ticket.
A day ticket to come to the show itself, where we'll be doing a meet and greet during the day.
Correct.
The reason I wanted to talk about this is because I've seen a lot of people saying, that's where the last episode's going to be. And that's not true at all.
You're idiots. I mean,
It is a standalone episode.
it's a one-shot.
It's a one-shot.
Put it this way, we wouldn't ever do a canon episode live that people wouldn't be able
To
see.
watch. If we couldn't stream it, if we couldn't upload it somewhere, we definitely wouldn't ever do something which is important to the story. But we also would never do the last episode of the campaign at a paid-for event. We're corporate shills, but we're not that bad. It is, anybody can watch it. If you're not a fan of High Rollers, or if you have people that don't know anything about High Rollers, they can still come and watch it. It's just going to be some good D&D fun at Insomnia 62. So check that out. It's the pinned tweet on High Rollers D&D, so you can check it out there. Medium hoodies are still out of stock. We're working with Mike to get that sorted out. We're very, very sorry about that. Hopefully they should be back in stock soon.
They're really cool.
They are really cool. Small, all the other sizes are available, so you can get those. Poor Matt still doesn't have one because the mediums are out. So we're trying to get that
so
one.
you don't have to like compress myself
Gain
or
weight
stretch
or
myself out
shrink.
around to fit one.
Yeah, to fit. Or just maybe me and you could just both wear an extra large at the same time, like a get-along jumper.
Yeah.
We can wear that. And then the last thing, which is a completely selfish thing, I have just released a new class out on the DM's Guild. It's called the Vigilante. If you've ever wanted to be a fantasy Batman, the Punisher, Elektra, V for Vendetta, it's all those kind of archetypes.
Swear to me.
Swear to me, where is she?
Swear to me.
That's out on the DM's Guild now. If you go on my Twitter, at Sherlock_Humes, it is my pinned tweet with a link to it there. There's a couple of small minor spelling and format issues I need to fix, but
it's got some great art
balanced. It has got some great art by Joma at Forging Meanings, who does a lot of crit roll art.
Professional thing.
He's really good. And thank you to Erica, who did all the editing or helped me out with the editing and the grammar and stuff like that as well. So you can go
Also,
check
happy
that out.
birthday, Joma, because it's Joma's birthday
It's Joma's
today.
birthday. There you go. Thank you. Happy birthday. Thanks,
Happy
man.
birthday person I don't know. Awesome
Does cool
artist.
art. He did some cool Juto Crownrand art once. That's really good. Right, so, is there anything else that I forgot about?
Probably, but...
Chris is away next week.
Chris is away next week.
What a prick.
That's something to bear in mind.
I'm in the US, so I can't make it.
Stalk him. If you're border control, don't let him in, and then he will be here next week.
Haha.
I mean, that could actually happen.
Do you still have a cardboard
I carry
cutout?
so many narcotics
Remember
on
when
me.
he was
Yes.
They'll
But
use
it
this as
doesn't have his new
evidence.
hair.
You understand?
And it's still got his like polo
Tipex
shirt or whatever.
What are you saying?
The cardboard cutout that we used to use when you weren't here.
Oh yeah, that's probably thrown away.
I think that has been thrown away now. Right.
Or
Enough
disintegrated.
of the frivolities. It's time to get serious. So, last time on High Rollers, you made it back to Talis'Val, and you had discovered that Korak, the champion, your friend, had lost a kind of like a big vote, a kind of political campaign to try and lead the city, and instead they had decided to elect the Council of Guilds officially, and therefore Korak had forsworn that he would try and involve himself in that anymore. You discovered that Korak had sworn himself as a paladin and was now going by his true name of Adric, and various other elements we all found out about that. But the major thing that you discovered and were in the kind of stages of preparation for was several scouting units of the Talis'Val kind of army and forces reported that there were massive forces of the Broken Sky heading to the capital with the intention of attacking it.
What? That's news to me.
It's news to you.
We were going to go on holiday.
Yeah.
We're done.
Well, as you were finding this information out, you also encountered an old friend who had come to the city to warn you about the oncoming forces.
So old.
Trelemar Alith Drow, mystic and warlock, had come to warn you. He's a spellcaster, he's a warlock. Had come to warn you and was being detained at Champion Todd. You met up, you kind of caught him up on some of the things that had been going on, and then you had a lengthy meeting with the council where actually things kind of were worked out. There was a kind of an uneasy agreement and peace kind of brokered between you and the council and Korak and everybody else for the sake of working together to save the city. And the last thing that happened was you had gone to purchase some magic items from Salar Balat, this genie that you've befriended. We have handled the buying of things off camera. Kim, do you want to just give a recap of what was actually bought?
Pass me the
Oh, I've got
printout.
it. No, I've got it here.
It's so detailed.
The emails we went through.
There was a lot of emails to this. So you have purchased 2 bejeweled cups to cast Hero's Feast, 1,000 GP diamond for Raise Dead, 5 superior healing potions, and a potion of flying. Those are all.
Treleblar.
Yeah. So those are the things that you purchased using pretty much all of your remaining resources. You've pretty much spent all of your remaining wealth, apart from your own magic items, which you could sell if you were desperate.
I assume we're going to be paid handsomely for being the heroes of the world.
Most likely, absolutely.
The world.
Not important. Saving the world is important.
There'll be a few bejeweled cups left lying around.
And so that was the last thing that's been handled. And so now, you know that there is about 24 hours, roughly, before this army is within sort of attacking range of Talis'Val. They are on the march. The scouts have reported that they are pretty relentless, that they seem to have mustered mainly in Briarcrest, which is several days away, and have been sort of looting and ransacking smaller settlements on the way, resupplying, making sure they've got food and everything else. So it seems to be that there is no sign of them slowing down, is what I mean. The city has now discovered the news. The soldiers and the army are basically making sure that people from outlying farms, outlying quarries, lumber mills are brought inside the city, but also they bring with them as much resource as they can. Huge kind of stockpiles of wood, food, stone, metal, ores are all being brought in where they can. Talis'Val sits in a particular location next to the Shard Lake, a really large kind of inland, almost like a small inland sea, really, and is actually nestled quite close to the coast. So really the only ways that people can go are north and south, and that is where both of the armies are coming from, kind of cutting Talis'Val off. But there are several kind of nearby locations that are brought inside the city. The citizens, there is a kind of a very quiet sense of foreboding. People are desperately running around, making sure they have supplies. You can see that there's a lot of bureaucrats and artisans also making sure that, houses are protected as best they can, buildings are boarded up and any defences that they can muster are maintained. Soldiers rush around making sure that weapons and armour are ready. They are seen mounting the walls, sending out small scouting parties. You hear words that they've had small clashes with scouting parties of the Broken Sky that are obviously trying to check out the defences, but no major skirmishes or no major battles have happened yet. And you have approximately 1 day to make any preparations or to do anything you would like to do. So, is there anything at the table that anybody would like to spend that time doing?
So up on the ground and cry a little bit.
Round the
Wisdom
floor.
saving throw.
Let's
Try
say
not to cry.
Cry.
that's definitely about an
Cry a
hour.
lot.
That can be your short rest for the day if you really want. Just
Why?
crying up into a ball.
Oh, an illusory!
So
Punching Juto. with
24 hours of
incredible
making out.
strength.
I guess I've got the armor of Ashford now.
Yes,
It's about
you
a
do.
day ago.
Yes,
I did that.
yes.
So I am kitted out in this.
So Reynard arrives
Adamantine
wearing,
scale armor.
you know, his Bumblebee uniform. You would have to. Your Bumblebee uniform would be covered up by most of the
Bumblebee,
armor.
it's just yellow and black.
Bumblebee.
Ah, so yeah, you're not going to look like a bumblebee anymore. You're going to look
No,
different.
he actually strikes a because it would go over your.
He
You
was
wouldn't be able to wear
genuinely
your
really just
tunic
like,
with the
this
armor.
changes things.
Oh,
Is
right,
it-
do you want this?
Has he got? He's still got the sleeves.
He
hanging
has
out.
the sleeves poking out, kind of like Landschneck kind of guards, like they have these big sleeves
Yeah.
coming out of their main armor.
Puffy.
But he still has the cape as well. Oh no, you gave that to Grunker, didn't you? So
She's still got it.
She
yeah.
still has
I'm
it.
gonna have to go that
So
way.
you kind of have the puffy sleeves,
Yeah.
but the armor is this kind of dull greyish metal. It doesn't reflect light in the way that normal steel does.
Oh, okay.
It kind of almost looks like a slate, but it's very clearly metal.
Oh, it's the same. Adamantine is that the same material as Juto's?
No, that's mithril.
No.
I
Mithril
have
is very
mithril.
shiny. Adamantine is actually not shiny at all.
Okay.
But it has a very well-worn look to it, and it kind of helps him cut more of a heroic figure. Reynard kind of looks like this kind of armoured
It's slimming.
warrior.
If only I still had that sword. Why did I leave it behind?
Is it inspiring? Would it help your inspiration?
No, it doesn't provide any extra benefits.
It
But
just looks nice.
it does, and the
Looks
protection is
nice.
like located at certain points, like around like the neck, in between like the ribs is particularly well protected. Anywhere that like a vital strike might cause extra injury, it seems to have very good protection.
There's a full like bowl over the crotch.
Like a soup bowl.
A cricket box.
Bing!
Like a theatrical
Yeah, like an old Shakespearean codpiece.
piece.
If you want that to be the case, sure.
I mean, it was a female. armor
Enjoy
before, wasn't it?
enjoy these moments of hilarity whilst you can.
It was adjusted though.
It was
so you
adjusted. It wouldn't be an adamantine codpiece.
took
It
a
would be a
boot
normal
plate.
metal codpiece.
And just put it down there.
Okay. Well, there was no boot plate. 'cause
Oh
boot
yeah,
plate's
okay.
ridiculous.
My bad. Sorry. What did say that was? Anyway.
So I have proficiency in masonry.
Of course you do.
Also,
Well, as a slave, she
mining.
was made to build like fortifications. and
Yeah,
things
I think
like
it
that.
comes from the folk hero.
What are you going to do?
background
Build a
or
wall
something.
for us?
Well, I was thinking, like, would that help with like helping people construct defenses?
You can certainly assist. Yes, you could do that. The main sort of it's because the wall's already there. It's not like you're
Yeah.
building new walls,
No.
but you can probably certainly help do things like help chip like stone wheels for like carting things around, or you can basically help shape rocks. Like they're breaking down large rocks into things for like throwing over the battlements and things like that. You can definitely help do that for sure.
I
Yeah,
can
if you'd like
help
to spend some time
transport.
doing that.
I'll help transport heavy items.
Okay. So you're just kind of doing like the more mundane
Lifting
tasks
ballista.
around.
Siege
Is there
weapons.
anything?
Well, the thing is with only a day, they're not really able to construct new ones, but they are kind of making sure that the ones that they have, they're kind of bringing catapults out of the barracks, wheeling them down into like the main square. A lot of the preparations that the city's taking is more around things like clearing civilians out of certain areas. Almost all of the civilians have been kind of withdrawn into the guild quarter at the very center of the city, and they've been sent to things like storm basements and storm shelters and things like that underneath the large buildings. They're making sure that they've got supply chains ready to go. They're also building things like wooden barricades just to block off the main central streets in case the outer walls fail. They won't do much, but there's something, and they're doing a lot of things like that.
What do the defences actually look like? Do they look worn and like disused, or like?
Certainly disused. Like the ballista and catapults are being brought out of things like storage because they've never needed them before. Like when Talis'Val was first built, they fought off monster attacks and bandits, but nothing to this scale. But these were built as a preparation for if another region attacked or something like that. The walls of Talis'Val are very impressive. The walls are thick, they're tall, the battlements are well designed. It is a city that has been designed almost to kind of resist an attack, but you get the sense that, yeah, this is something which is brand new for everybody. Attacks of this kind haven't happened since before the Lightfall, since after the Lightfall. You know, you're talking like 50 years since anything like this has even taken place. So yeah, people are sort of like trying their best to secure what they're doing, but it's you can see that it's a bit of an uncertain sort of environment.
I'll probably check in with Cassandra.
Okay.
She probably with Dermot, I imagine, maybe?
No, Cassandra's
Or
not.
Bahamut.
Cassandra is at the temple basically preparing the squires. There's only about 20, 25 of them, but they are all armoured, fully armoured knights. You can see them basically making sure they've got everything they need, that supplies have got. The priests are also preparing battle rites, basically kind of preparing prayers and wards of protection for them.
I'll probably assist in a way, just like assessing the squires,
Okay.
checking out Cassandra, and then whispering like, make sure you heal me, like
Constantly.
all the time.
She's doing her best to ignore you and kind of...
I'm the most important person in this battle.
She eventually kind of turns, she's like, Cam, I'm
Yeah?
very well aware. Go and find something else to do.
So you admit that I'm the most important,
Not at all.
but you did just say,
You are important, not the most important.
but I'm up there,
Sure.
top 2.
Nope. But you're up there. Just, you need to... Is there something useful you can do? Is there anything else?
I've just been wandering around the squires giving them pep talks. Did you not see that?
And she looks over and some of them are like looking more nervous than ever, sort of like, just like really sort of stressed
I
out.
face the inevitability of death. You have to face those consequences.
No.
No?
Joe, you're an incredibly powerful cleric. Is there not like spells that you can prepare? Anything you can do?
I can't afford them. I was going to cast Hallow. However, I mean, if you've got a diamond laying around, it's worth 1,000 gold.
I mean, Hallow, what does that do?
It protects an area, a 60-foot radius, from certain things.
Have you asked the council? Something like that they might pay for. If it benefits more than just a small number of individuals, they will likely assist with that. And if it's something that Lady Amaryllis can do as well, then the two of you could likely work on that together.
I'll find her.
Okay.
I want to make sure that when we're going around that I'm getting the people that we've listed that we want to take part in a hero's feast.
Okay.
To just make them aware that...
Okay. And that takes, what, an hour?
To consume, yeah.
Okay, so basically you would tell them just before the fight, like, you know,
Yeah.
probably tomorrow morning, to gather for a sort of large heroes feast.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that they're aware of that.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah,
tell Cassandra, because she's included.
Yeah, there's a big feast going on tomorrow. Laura's cooking, apparently. I don't know why. She calls it Heroes Feast, which I think is a bit...
She rolls her eyes. I will do my best to attend.
It's going to be
That's
the
not
best
good
one.
enough, guess.
I think I'm going to be at the head of the table, so you can sit
Sure.
nearby.
Please leave.
Sorry?
We have a lot of preparation to do. I know you don't seem to be taking this very seriously, but for many of these squires, this will be their first major battle. I need to prepare them.
I smile as a defense mechanism. Good day to you.
You say that out loud.
Yes, I do.
What about Reynard, Trelemar, Duto? Any plans? I mean, you wanted to help with the defences. That will take like not the whole day, but you can definitely spend some time doing that. But
Can I help
there's only a
with,
certain
like-
amount you can really do help-wise with that.
Can I help with like cooking as well? Because I'm proficient in that apparently. So.
I mean, yeah, certainly
making
you can
sure
definitely
that-
swing by the barracks and you can assist with that. Certainly will be a morale boost. You can see a lot of the soldiers are kind of, you know, scoffing down food, lunches where they can, but a lot of them are being detailed into preparing things. But they're also being quite sensible and making sure that the soldiers have plenty of time to rest. So yeah, you can definitely do that. When you make roll a d20 plus your proficiency modifier, and then for cooking, let's say wisdom modifier, because I think it's like all more about sort of like common sense and, you know, sort of like recipes that you've picked up and things like that.
25.
25, yeah, okay. So yeah, you basically, you spend probably the better half of the afternoon into early evening, basically working with the barracks chefs, who, you know, there's three of them. One is a dwarf male, kind of a ruddy type, doesn't have a beard, actually has a shaven beard, but has longer hair. and then a human woman and a half-orc man as well. And they tend to be there. You can see that what they're serving is very basic. And you actually kind of offer your assistance. And they're a bit dubious at first, but after you kind of cook up a few things and you give them some stuff that you've made, they seem actually quite impressed, and you prove yourself as a good sous chef. Like, they'll like ask you to fetch things, and eventually they trust you with doing more and more. And actually you start cooking some of your, like, I don't know, would you cook stuff like tiefling dishes, or would you cook stuff that you expect the Talis'Val citizens to want?
That.
Okay, so you spend some time, like some of the things that you've seen Cam and Elora and that enjoying and eating, you kind of spend some time preparing those.
Sand.
Cooked sand. That's a traditional Brasaris meal there. Old
Actually,
sand.
we just had coal.
Yeah, just
Chewed on.
just chewed on coal. And yeah, quite a lot of soldiers seem to really enjoy it. The flavors, you use your own kind of spices and kits and things that you've brought with you. And yeah, definitely seems to have a mood on improving morale specifically. What about you guys?
Could I go back to the Featherhorns? I guess that would be, what are their names again? Arthur, Felton, and Baltir.
Yeah, and then
I
your
want
mother
to,
as well.
I guess, I guess I'd send my mother, who is ill, to be in Dragon's
Champion's Hold.
Champion's Hold. What's Dragon's Landing?
You're thinking of, I think you're thinking you got
mixed.
mixed of Dragon's Landing from Skyrim.
Dragon's Reach.
Dragon's Reach, and then King's Landing from
What are we playing again?
Dungeons and Dragons.
We're in Iraq. Okay, fine. So I'll send Mother up to there.
She's actually already, you can see most of the staff are packing up things, and they look like they're heading towards the Champion's Hold anyway.
Oh, okay.
Along with Arthur, Felton, and Baltir. They're all basically making their way to be in Champion's Hold.
So they're making their way to just hold up and hide out in there.
That's certainly what, like, there's a lot of soldiers and attendants of the militia kind of guard that are basically saying, we've got orders to take you to Champion's Hold, gather your things. You can see Baltir is a bit more like, I don't need to go, hey, I can help. And he's like, he seems to want to be there. He's kind of, okay, if Dad says I have to go, okay.
I almost want to intervene and ask them if they could help out, because they've got a day left before they need to hold up and hide out in the thing. And I want Baltir, who's the lumberjack kind of...
Yeah, he's a
boy.
big, strong guy and works closely with all the lumber workers and things.
Yeah, help.
He's like, hey!
Oh, Baltir, lovely to see you again.
Rainy!
You are probably aware, are in need of some extra help around the city. And you are very good. He's just completely
he's just like, he's just smiling at you. He's like listening, but he's like...
Could you assist the, I guess the people doing the barricades and things like that, with whatever you can do? You've chopped down trees, you've carried big things.
You know me so well!
Do you want to do more of that?
But the soldiers say I have to go to Champion's Hold. Father says we've got to go there.
Like,
I want to help so much. I love it.
Let me talk to the guards.
This big
okay.
brother.
What's Felton? Oh, there it is.
Judo!
What's Felton doing? Is he?
Felton is nervously packing up his things, but he's kind of being lost like in the chaos. Like you can see, he's a bit sort of like looking around and a bit anxious at like all these soldiers moving in and taking things, and the servants and various workers in the house are kind of helping him. You can see he's desperately trying to pack up all of his books and his magic. He's like, oh no, I must take this one. I don't know. And he's like trying to pick which books to bring.
I want to pick up like a big stack of stuff.
Okay.
And just to bring over to him before I start speaking to him, so he's got less to panic about, just to calm him a little bit.
He's like, oh yes, no, this is a good one. And he's like taking them off. He's like, no, I don't need this one. And he's like going through it more methodically. But you can see that giving him a big stack is helping him sort of focus.
Yeah. Felton.
Oh yes, Reynard, yes.
I know that you're probably quite scared right now, but I'm telling you, there's no need to worry. Everything is under control. I have a job for you.
Okay.
You are probably one of the smartest people I know. It would surprise you to know.
No, that's very, very, very kind, but no.
I think your fresh perspective on things would be very useful in the upcoming events. I have someone who you can work very closely with to A, learn from, and B, help out yourself.
He like looks like wide-eyed at you, like,
who? His name is Alfred.
Blue
I've been
voice.
away for a week. I've forgotten everything.
That was a total guess as well.
Alfred Glue.
Okay.
You've probably heard of him. He's He does stuff in the council, I'm sure.
He's one of the masters of the Arcane Brotherhood, isn't he?
Yes.
He's a very powerful wizard. I've read several of his works.
Well, you have the opportunity now to work closely with him, to assist him with your fresh perspective. I think it will be very useful for him.
But I'm just I don't know that much magic. And Father wanted us to champ, but...
You may not know much about magic, but you have a very good idea about new things. You may not be able to cast it yourself, but you'll be able to instruct those that can.
Where is he?
Probably in Champion's Hold right now.
Okay. Well, yes. If you can introduce, of course, I would love to help. That would be amazing.
Give me some time. I'll come back to you, and I will take you up there myself.
All right. As you're kind of talking to him, you do hear people is going on, and you just hear her like, if you think Father is going to let you take Felton off into this battle, you're mistaken. Really?
Arthur, hello.
It's bad enough. If you want to go and get yourself killed along with these fighters, that's up to you, but don't you drag poor Felton into this.
I'm not going to get them killed. There's plenty of time for them to do whatever they need to do to help out until they need to hold up Arthur in Champion's Hold. Arthur.
He looks at you like, fine, but I'll make sure that I'll then tell Father of what you're doing.
Go ahead. He trusts me much more than you might think he does. Especially after the mistakes he's made recently.
What?
Well, Broken Sky, he didn't know anything about it all of a sudden.
Of course not, because it was ridiculous, and now, obviously, the rest of the council are the ones who let him down and didn't tell him what was going on. Oh.
Yes, that's definitely the case, Arthur. You know what, I might have a job for you also.
Good luck. As if I'd do anything remotely that you've suggested.
No, you're right, you are, after all, useless, Arthur.
Useless? Do you find calculating a year's profits on lumber trade useless? I think not.
Well, if you would like to be of some use with your calculating of, what was that, lumber profits? Whatever.
This is why you work the business.
We are going to be needing people like that, accountants and merchants and people to calculate damaged costs, and I don't know, I'm going to be honest with you. Would you like to do something? You just do your own thing, Arthur, I don't really.
Give me a persuasion check.
That's a 18.
I suppose you could introduce me to a few people if they need my superior intellect. Obviously they can't rely on you for such matters.
You just asked me to go to them.
Obviously you are aware of who I need to be speaking with. But clearly that's all you're good for. You're like a messenger.
See you on the battlefield, Arthur?
Unlikely. But yeah, do you want to try? You can basically, if you go up to the guards, they know that you're working with Dermot and the council. If you tell them that, like, no, my Baltier is going to help with some stuff, then they'll happily just.
Well, I always want to say that Father has entrusted me to oversee things after the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, where I might have been right, he might have been a little bit wrong. A little bit, mostly, very. And yeah, I'll convince them. Do I need to do some sort of...
No, the soldiers, like, you've got the authority to basically, they'll just be like, very well, sir, like, we can leave this in your hands.
Okay, and then I will lead them to their respective locations.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Baltier, you set him to work with, it's a lot of the people he already knows, like many of the carpenters and lumberers around the city are helping build the defenses. You introduce him to several soldiers, and he gets straight into it, like chopping stuff. They show him how to construct, like, spikes, which he thinks is incredible. Okay. He's like, so not get stabbed on these! Wow! And he's just like hammering away, he loves it. He's having a whale of a time. Good. And yeah, you lead all the rest back up to Champion's Hold. Felton, you introduced to Alfred, who is very kind. He's very grateful for the magical assistance, but also scholarly pursuits. He actually sets Felton to work on researching giants and things like that. Gives him access to his library, which Felton is amazed at and is like, seems totally enamored by.
Yeah.
And actually, Arthur he starts working with several of the kind of underlings of the council guild members of, prepping for things like how much food they need. Like, he immediately hates all of their organizational notes and begins setting up some sort of spreadsheet, Yoldi spreadsheet of well, we have approximately these many citizens and blah, 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 and he starts kind of working with his more sort of bureaucratic power.
Yeah, okay, no, that's cool.
Definitely. Big help.
Nice.
Sweet.
Anything for anyone else? Trelamar's just like...
I've got 50 gold. Is there any wanton
No,
women
you
around?
don't anymore. you don't have that anymore.
I do not. Oh.
Yeah.
Did you take Trell's 50 gold?
Did we?
I don't think you did.
I wrote on the
I think
inventory
you
what
do
we
have-
took.
No, you did. You have
Okay.
50 gold. You can
okay.
easily go and spend that. Like, business is booming for certain parts,
really?
certain industries in
Yeah,
the city.
well, go on then.
There's a lot of soldiers who are think that this might be the last, their last day. So yeah, there's it's busy though. Like, there's a wait. There's some queuing going on at several locations throughout the city. But 50 gold is, you can go to an upper marketplace if that's
really?
fancy.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
okay.
you can easily head over to Dawn Square, where the more sort of elite clientele happen to go, which is much quieter than the more sort of soldiers. I mean, it is a trade in the
Classing
city.
it up.
It is a business in the city, and if that's what Trelemar wants to do, that's what Trelemar
Why
can go
not?
and do. Yeah.
Just thought you would have helped, the...
Does that
His
GTA?
presence is helping.
Yeah, in between, I might help get citizens to safety.
Okay, so
Maybe.
as you're walking there, you point the direct. You're like, yeah,
Go
that
down
way.
there.
Yeah.
That way.
That way. That's it. Good job.
Does it, like GTA, increase his health?
No.
Damn it.
Stamina.
Sadly not. I'm not going to mechanicize
Tires him out, if anything.
a sex worker profession. It is a fine
gross,
profession,
yeah.
but I will not give you mechanical benefits for indulging it. Sadly.
Very well.
We see Dermot about just plans in regards to, because we've obviously got extra forces and stuff.
Yes.
Just in regards to when he wants to have those forces
Utilise.
arrive and utilise them and things.
So, when you head over to him, they have erected in Journeyman's Run an old temple way, which are the most northern and southern districts that lead directly from the gates. You can see that they have basically taken over a series of buildings, like the sturdiest buildings they can find, and have turned them into forward command posts, basically, forward bases, so that they're not running all the way back to Champion's Hold for relaying messages. And Dermot is currently positioned at the southern gate in Journeyman's Run, and another commander called Commander...
Bob.
Nope.
Oh, Bobby.
Commander Vorath will be manning the northern gate.
Vorath.
Yeah. Dermot is operating in this forward operating base, FOB, and he has basically got a number of commanders, lieutenants, captains. Barris is with him, actually is one of the lieutenants on command, and they have a large map, like a parchment map of Talis'Val, but it has much more kind of intricate details of the streets and things like that, and you can see that he's, coordinating a defense. He's saying we need barriers here, make sure this section of the wall has got this many guard, they're basically planning it, everything else. When you enter, and I will assume at this point you all enter as a group, having done
Makes
various
sense.
things. He's like, good, you're here. We're just finalising up a few things. Anything you can add to the current situation?
Our armies that we spoke to you of,
Yes, what's the detail with them?
we can summon them with items that we have,
Okay.
but we just need to know when to do that. Obviously, we would prefer to use them as a surprise.
Yes, it's difficult. I don't know the natures of these armies, their capabilities. It sounds like you have first-hand knowledge of what they can do. And honestly, this battle is, no battle survives a plan. Or no plan survives battle. That's the way around it goes. I think the best option is use your best judgment. There might not be a specific time. I can't think of a time when we will need them best. Likely towards the end, as our forces become tired, so will their forces. Summoning in fresh troops is extremely beneficial to us.
Half of them will be ground troops and half will have flying capability.
Can you summon them separately?
Yep.
That might be a useful addition then. Ground troops will certainly be more useful if they breach through. We don't know what magic they have access to. They may be able to send units through. They might be able to teleport people in, fly them over the walls. We don't know what they can do.
They're
A
also
flying force obviously can harass as we're defending the walls.
they're cavalry, technically. the centaurs.
Right, okay.
So they could run down troops quite easily.
If we can summon them outside of the city walls, again, they can provide much needed relief
Like a
while we're
rear flank.
defending. Absolutely. From what I
Saying
understand,
military stuff.
surprisingly, with surprising accuracy, Cam.
I've been picking it up.
We have sent word to the Moonspire, Lady Galana Talis'Val. Obviously, it will take them some time to reach us, but hopefully they might arrive when we need them, or they might arrive when things have gone badly, but the assistance will be useful, if nothing else.
Where do you want us?
I personally would like you here at the South Gate with me. We believe the larger force to be coming this way, so we have dedicated more of our troops here than anywhere else, but we are obviously keeping an eye on the Northern Gate as well. Having you here at the southern portion of the city would be the most useful, I feel. Those of you, such as Master Ferrohorn, your uncle as well, will be assisting on the battlements upon some siege weaponry that we've managed to get in commission. I know that some of you are spellcasters. That sort of thing is extremely valuable for dealing with large swathes of troops, but also being a presence to the people. Any of you with medical training, being able to assist with injuries. We're going to have a number of buildings stationed as field hospitals. Any minor injuries or any major injuries, people will be taken there. The quicker you can get people back up on their feet, the better. Magical healing, I would suggest you try and reserve for key moments. Things like preventing people from bleeding out. There's minor magical cantrips, I think, that can prevent people from bleeding out. That will allow our surgeons to get them back up on their feet without risk of losing anyone.
Sparing the dying.
Using healers' kits, medical training to set wounds, bandage, splint arms, bandage cuts, that sort of thing will also be incredibly useful. But also just being a presence. If you see sections of the wall that look like they might be wavering or they might be being overwhelmed, do what you can.
Be important.
Honestly, this is going to be a long, drawn-out fight. This is not going to be a few minutes, big, intense fight, explosions. This is a long battle. All of you are probably used to, kind of like most of us, used to fighting opponents one-on-one or in small numbers. Individual attacks, in reality, that won't do a huge lot. You need to think about trying to get as many things as you can at once, or continuous fire. Things like ranged weaponry over a period of time will be useful, but yeah, taking down one or two orcs or hobgoblins or these traitors, these human traitors, doesn't mean a lot, but taking out large swathes, raising defenses, all of that is very useful.
Taking out their leaders.
That's the other thing. We know that they're bringing giants, and we know that they're bringing spellcasters. Targeting them, incredibly useful. They have a large number, but anything we can do to take them out is useful.
I'm going to walk around the battle map and kind of fold my arms, nodding at the map, but I have no idea what it is.
Okay. You're just looking like you know what you're doing. Okay,
So
when you give me a performance check.
Sweet. Exactly what. That is a 27.
Everybody, all of the other commanders and lieutenants seem very impressed. They're kind of just like, it's good to have. It's good to have with you.
Thing on the table, then just put it back.
And then put it back. They look at you and like, do you think we should move these defenses?
Not without orders from Dermot, obviously, but it's just suggestions.
They start like thinking about it.
Good boy.
They sort of like start whispering to each other like.
Have you
You seem very like they're like, this guy knows what he's doing. Like you come off extremely well.
I learned from the best. You listen to Dermot.
Well, of course, he's the commander. Of course.
Have you seen or heard anything from the Unbroken Empire?
I mean, it's only been a few hours since we knew of this and you told us about them, but we will keep an eye out. We'll have scouts posted to look for any reinforcements, whether from the Moonspire, the Unbroken Empire, or we have reached out to other settlements, but most of them haven't returned messages.
It's likely they'll return near the end of the fight if it's a few days away.
Is there a way that I could send a message to the Unbroken Empire?
The best, I mean, in terms of a ground messenger, no. At this point, most of our communication routes have been cut off. Speak to Alfred. He has magical abilities to do that. That's how we contacted the Moonspire. But that's all I can advise, I'm afraid.
You can contact Shalana, potentially.
Yeah, the Autumn Spire of Elves would also be very useful. They're much closer than the Moonspire as well. Certainly.
We should visit Alfred and at least check on to see if Sverria and his partner have turned up.
We might know if there's a wall missing when we go to
Dermot, huge party going on. Big heroes feast coming up. You should be there.
I will try.
You're invited. The rest of you aren't. Sorry.
It will help you in battle.
Okay, well, yeah, I will try my
It
best.
has magical effects, and I promise it will be worth your time.
When? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning.
Very well. Where can I find you? The temple or?
Yeah, that might be good.
All right, I'll come there.
Yeah.
Gives you a solid nod. And then
Still not.
just heads back to his business. He's got a lot to focus on.
I'm going to see Alfred.
Okay.
Vice.
Okay. You make your way back towards Champion's Hold. It hasn't been a full day yet, but you can see that they are starting to remove the walls. They're actually starting to like take out the windows, and you can see them sort of like pulling bricks apart under guidance of one of the Mason Guild leaders.
Ready for the...
Basically ready to try and let him in. You can see Alfred has moved most of his books out with the assistance of Felton and a few other apprentices, and they're now working out in a large kind of open lobby with just stacks of books everywhere. Alfred is like, so good to see you all again. I'm afraid we're a little bit distracted working with my library and preparing for these giants to arrive, but...
Yes, thank you for that. I'm sorry
It's-
about the hassle.
If these giants can prove resistance, it will be very useful in the battle to come.
We wondered if you might be able to help us send some messages.
Of course, yes. I've spent my preparations for the day. I've prepared mainly spells for such matters, communication, bureaucracy. Tomorrow I will prepare more defensive magic.
It was the Autumn Spire of elves are closer. They may be able to send some forces.
I see. Let me consult my tomes.
I've got the same one.
I doubt that.
You can read?
I am
Just
unfortunate. Do you have a contact that you know amongst the spire? I'm afraid that I would need to be familiar with the person that I'm contacting, and I'm afraid I'm not. But I can provide you a scroll, which will allow you to cast the spell.
Yes.
I can certainly provide that.
We'll
You
take
will
it.
have only 25 words you can convey, so I suggest you plan your message carefully.
How many fingers is there? That's 25. Yes.
They will be able to respond to your message with a similar
Okay.
message as well.
25 back?
That is how I've been communicating with young Master Frostwalker in the Winter Spire.
If you say the words without breathing or any breaks, does it count as a word?
No, it would still, yes, it is a written message.
Would I be also able
well.
to send a message to the Unbroken Empire?
I can provide you with a scroll, but do you have knowledge of spell casting?
No.
You will need someone who is, and who isn't a familiar. Anyone who is, has an understanding of magic would be able to use it.
Cam, you brought them back to life.
I don't know any... Oh, me, yeah. I'll do it.
I only have 2 of these spending scrolls, so this would be my last 2.
The last 2, I guess it's worth it. They're very important. Allies.
I will fetch them in.
We've already contacted the main
Young
spire.
boy, Farahorn boy, and you see Felton like, yeah, he's like, come with me, I will show you where I keep my scrolls. It's important you know this, the other apprentice is disturbed. And he takes him off, and you can see Felton is like, and diligently follows after him. After about maybe sort of like 40 minutes, they come back.
How big is their vault?
Well, it's Alfred doesn't move very quickly,
Right.
and also he's carrying more scrolls, not just the 2. He hands you 2, 1 to you and 1 to you, sending scrolls, which you can just
Nice.
cast. They are only 3rd level.
You're going to have to help me with
Waste
the
it.
message.
Yeah, we're going to.
So he hands them to you, and then he begins handing out scrolls to the apprentices. He actually gives 1 scroll to Felton, who is just like, this is the first time he's seen a magic scroll, so he's just
Alfred, what defensive magic have you got planned for tomorrow?
I have a few spells. Mainly, I can conjure a Wall of Force. It is not very large, so I was intending to use it to help protect Champion's Hold if need be. I'm afraid that a frontline battle is perhaps a little beyond me. Mistress Trixiana will be around. She is more competent in such matters. Her illusions, I believe she's intending to try and mislead some of the forces where she can. I also have spells that will trigger certain alarms, so we know where, if they enter Champion's Hold, where from. I can also set up passive defenses, glyphs, this sort of thing.
Cool.
Alfred.
I'm a specialist in abjuration and conjuration magic, so I'm also going to attempt to summon some allies, some creatures.
Oh.
The military, does it have a banner, Talis'Val?
Yes, it has the sigil of Talis'Val.
I suggest maybe giving Sphera a really big one to put on him.
Yes, we could
Just
certainly
so
try
that
and...
none of our forces mistake him for some of the giants that they have.
I believe that the commanders are informing them that we will have some giant allies, but it would be a good idea, yes.
It could be like a mascot of Talis'Val.
Yes.
The people might feel a bit confident seeing that he's on our side.
I imagine if it is two giants, as you said, then yes, this would be very useful. So yes, I will request this.
Maybe we could get from the unicorn's patch. Maybe a big I Heart Talis'Val tunic. So it's giant sized.
T-shirt.
He just looks at you. If you believe that would be useful in this
think
battle.
The banner might be better, but
I
get
survived the
one
siege
of
of
those.
Talis'Val, and all I got was this T-shirt.
yeah.
Tunic.
Sorry, tunic.
T-shirt.
All I got
If
was
we
this
get
lousy
through
tunic.
this, we can all have one.
That's true. That is pinky promise. We all get a surviving Talis'Val tunic.
If we get through
Okay.
this, we can get the tunic.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm
Anything else?
writing my message.
Okay.
I'm counting words.
Yeah, same.
Juto, if you've got a message that I can send to the Unbroken Empire.
What do you think of that?
What if they do break? Please help Talis'Val. Now, is Talis'Val 1 or 2 words?
Yeah, I think it's
It's
two.
Tal-
One word.
It's
Oh,
one word.
one word,
'cause
okay.
It's Talis
It's a-
apostrophe Val.
It's Talis
Please help
apostrophe
Talis'Val
Val.
under attack from
Because I thought that. I was like, I'm
15,000.
counting.
15,000 strong army of giants, orcs, spellcasters, and if they win, Iraq will fall. Juto.
I mean, that Talis'Val was just one word. You can put an X on the end as well.
Kiss. Thank you.
X.
Hope you're okay.
Juto's dead. X. This works.
Yeah, I think that.
The fact that it's got your name to it means it also is from a reliable source.
Okay. Is that what you want to send? Can I have the piece of paper back so I can try and formulate a response? Okay. Is there anything else you guys want to do? You've still got several hours. This is probably in the late.
I'd like to visit Lady Amy for the Hallow spell.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I'm assuming that you do that earlier in the day, because
I
she would have
check
had to
it?
have started that ASAP, because
Yeah.
it takes 24 hours to cast.
Can we have a chat?
If you want to have a chat, yeah, we can reverse time, I guess.
I'll daydream about it.
and also, can I just gather some medical kits?
I might try and do this in the break because it's going to take a bit of thinking
That's
on my
fine,
behalf. Yeah, I mean, things like medical kits, they are trying to store them up in the field hospitals, but the field hospitals are being equipped with bandages, healing balms, everything that they can.
Can I just take some so I can
Laura's
help?
using some sort of
You can
magical
take
Be
one.
like a field medic.
You can, yeah, I mean, yeah.
24.
It would be a healer's kit.
Do you say
Here's
it out
kit.
loud when you send the message?
It's written.
Okay, so we don't necessarily. Who are you
No.
sending it to?
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty straight. I can read it if you want.
always loved you.
Talis'Val
I'm dead.
Talis'Val under siege from broken
Elora
sky
raises the
forces
fist.
from north and
Is that
south.
how she texts you?
Army of orcs, giants, and humans. Any forces to assist needed urgently. Laura.
XO.
XO.
Kiss.
If you do an unlimited amount of XOs, just as one big block, that counts as a word, right?
No.
What are the rules?
XOXO. Well, yeah, if
There's
you
a
want to,
character
yeah, you
limit
can
on
have
what-
unlimited XOXOs because it doesn't convey anything.
So you could
What if
really
you get it the wrong
troll
way around and you
things,
put
though.
OXO?
Oxo. But that's
So
ox repeated many times. Wastes it. Okay.
I will write
Yeah,
that.
it's just, yeah.
Okay.
Ensuring
Earlier in the
grace.
morning, cut back, flashback. You seek out Lady Amaryllis. She is likely working with the priests, preparing basic scrolls, like level 1 scrolls, right? Trying to make as many as possible of like Shield of Faith and sort of protection spells to give, like so they can cast out on soldiers and things like that. She looks up. You can see her, the sort of slightly darker skin, the sort of like white markings around her, the sort of like long silvery hair falling down.
Is there any incense in?
Yeah, there's probably incense like burning and things like that in the main temple.
I take one of those sticks and put it up my shirt to kind of give myself some cologne, and then put it back.
In front of them. You just walk
in
up.
front of them.
Yeah, like while everyone's looking at you,
not in
kind
front
of go
of
up.
Lady Amy. I just let it soak the smoke in a little bit.
So a lit one.
Yeah.
It's awful fun.
I'm holding it.
Oh! It burns like a little bit of a
Put it back.
singe, burns some chest hairs maybe.
Okay. Lady Amy.
Yes, can. Hello. Why did you...
What?
The incense.
You saw that?
Is that some sort of
It's
ritual?
a ritual thing. Yeah, it's
Yes.
an Evandra thing. You wouldn't know.
Of course it is.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We're just trying to prepare as best we can.
Perfect.
Can I help you with something?
Oh, there's many things to help with, but the biggest threat right now is the huge army that's about to attack and kill us all.
That's what I was inferring to, as in, can I help you with something for that?
Yep, that's what I meant to. So, Hallow. Do you know Hallow?
I'm aware of the Halloween
Power.
ritual, yes.
Powerful spell. It'd be really useful if you could cast it. Do you have the capability?
I do, yes. I have not prayed for the spell, but I can likely find a scroll of it somewhere in the city.
Really?
But it will still require monetary as well.
And also 24 hours of...
That is the issue. It will need my devotion to do,
You prepared
but
to
it
do
would
that?
be useful, yes. The Hallow spell allows you to lay additional protective elements into it.
Yeah.
It not only keeps out demonic creatures, undead, celestials, fae, but I can also... anybody who follows a certain faith or a certain leader or people of a certain type, I can instill an additional protection. Did you have ideas for what that should be?
Well, we had two. One was a protection from lightning, because
Yes.
we know of a blue dragon, and also the giants have lightning capability. And
That would be, well, we know the Broken Sky have elemental magic as well.
there's another one that is kind of useful and important, but I forgot it.
Fear.
Well,
Fear.
I think Cam Buckland sounds like he forgot it.
I would know the Hallow spell.
You would say. Well, I'm more comfortable with the protection element myself. Whilst fear would not break my vows, I'm more comfortable performing a protective ritual myself. But if you, I'm sure we can find the resources for you to cast a spell if you wanted to.
I would, but my fear is exhaustion. I know you're a very powerful, really,
Don't say the yes.
really long-term standing dragon.
Just like shakes her head.
Oh, that word.
You do get the sense that like two like young priests of Bahamut kind of like look around, like
Dragon,
as if they've they're like, what did he say?
Like thick skin, like a dragon. And I know you'd probably be able to withstand such things better than I could.
I will do my best.
Dragon lover.
You should rest. You are likely to be involved on the front lines.
Yeah. Talking to dragons, how's the, the rush job, the thing that you just threw yourself into, was that,
What?
is that,
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
did you think it through, is all I'm asking.
Think what through?
Don't want to say his name. What is it now, Agtric?
And you can see that she kind of goes quite red, and it's just like, what are you implying?
Well, on the face value, I'm sure he's lovely, but deeper down.
She...
Twats you in the head.
Give me an insight check.
Ooh, 15.
You actually get the sense that she is actually genuinely quite angry for the first time. Like, you see like her nostrils flare,
Oh,
and
damn.
like her brow furrows a little, and there's a very faint flicker of her eyes going draconic. Mr. Buckland, I have tolerated several of your antics before, but that is quite rude. I have helped you, and Adric has done wonders for this city, and I don't appreciate those insinuations.
So it's a yes then.
I have come to care for Adric quite considerably, as the rest of the priesthood is aware. Good day. And then she gets up and she leaves. And she walks away.
Think about your best interests.
Boy.
And then a priest just goes like, I really think you should be quiet now. I've never seen Lady Amaryllis like that before. I've never seen her even angry before.
My pep talk game is a bit expired today. I've talked to a lot of squires.
Maybe you should just go find something else to do in the city.
I'll find some grapes. That'll poke me up.
Sure.
Cool.
They go back to their work.
Oh
leave.
boy. Oh boy.
Holy crap.
That was good.
So, anything else?
Probably just reconvene with him.
I mean, yeah, that was a bit of a flashback. Cut forward. It's kind of getting to sort of late afternoon,
Is there any
evening.
response from the messages?
There will be.
Okay.
I
After
will
the
need
break?
to check that they're 25 minutes. It will be of an affirmative, like, we will try. We will send help, but it will take time.
Just imagine like the Unbreaking Empire replying going, who dis?
Not using all 25
new
words.
spell,
Yeah.
who dis?
Who dis?
They have the benefit of they know exactly who's contacted them.
Oh,
So
really?
it would be like they would know it was Cam, but Cam's sending it as Juto, as a message as Juto, but yeah.
They know that we are associated.
Yes, they are aware of who sent it. You can't just you can't send a sending spell pretending to be somebody else.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
Okay.
so
Who tis?
are you guys going to take some rest? It is now early evening.
I guess if we start our rest and then hear us feasting in the morning. I guess we've gathered everyone or told them.
We've
to
told
You've told.
them. Oh, we've
We'll
told
make
them.
the assumption that
Yeah.
you've told them.
right.
And this is probably a good if if you wanted to spend some time with Grunker, you can probably go and track Grunker down. If you wanted
Before
to
everything kicks off,
yeah,
I can't do shit.
no. Or I'm just saying anybody else you try and find her.
I'll just kick about with, see what she's up to.
Yeah, you can find that, and I'll leave that to you and the audience to decide what happens
Oh
there.
god, don't do that.
I'm not going to do anything. I'm
Are
leaving
both
that up to
chains
his
involved,
mind and their minds.
Fire and
So,
ice.
I feel like my mind is going to be very different,
different to their minds. Yeah, absolutely. So with that, you take a long rest. You can prepare new spells if you really want.
Oh
I'll pray to Vandra.
god, that's going to take a while.
Okay. And then let us skip ahead to several bits of time.
Damn.
In the morning, you wake up quite early. You arise at the barracks of the Temple of Bahamut. You find it calm, still. Many people are not around. Most of the hubbub of the city is gone. The streets are empty for the most part, except for soldiers, messengers, as they line, rally themselves. You can see a lot of the soldiers getting breakfast, making sure their weapons and armor are ready, oiling leathers, making sure they're supple and won't buckle. It is a calm morning, overcast quite heavily. It's grey. There is a strong wind, perhaps a faint light drizzle in the air, as Talis'Val is the quietest it has ever been. Inside the temple itself, most of the priests are not present. Instead, you find only yourselves, Adric, formerly known as Korak, Lady Amaryllis, who is very cold towards Cam. You notice, if any attempt of Cam to be amusing is met with a sort of very polite and friendly, but definitely much colder.
I don't think I'd go there. Not today. Not sleeping on it.
Okay. But she's friendly and polite and everything else, but you can see that she's a little bit off with Cam. Those two are the only ones there at the time. Korak, you can see he isn't wearing his armor, but it's next to him, this kind of silver polished plate of Bahamut, his new shield with a symbol of Bahamut on it as well, and then his adorned shard blade resting beside it. He's instead wearing kind of simple soldier's garb, a loose tunic, trousers, boots, and he's actually pulling tables, he's kind of pulled out several tables and he's setting a table. and you can see him kind of dragging these heavy oak tables with his strength. Lady Amaryllis helping him with like setting out like plates and pitchers and that sort of things. Lady Amaryllis has also set one of the bejeweled cups that you had ready, so it's ready to go for the hero's feast. And then slowly, more and more people start arriving. Reynard and Grunker, I imagine, probably turn up together, perhaps, or like she was already with you, or I don't know.
Or like
it doesn't have to be.
awkwardly.
That's an assumption on my part.
Like Grunker comes
You
in
just went
first,
out-
and then a minute later you trail behind.
We just went out on a nice dinner date.
Yeah, that's fine.
Nothing more.
That's fine.
Nothing
Like,
less.
so those
What
guys.
happened after?
Those guys arrive. I mean, that is purely assumption. That doesn't have to be the case, Tom. I don't want to put any role playing in your
okay.
field. It's
You
up
two
to
are
you.
terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
Just because Juto has
Dermot,
nothing in her life.
who was, I'm thinking of the rest of it. So, Cassandra would also be there, so she'd probably be ready. She's fully armored, ready to go. Like this woman seems to live in her armor. You barely see her out of it. Eventually, Dermot arrives with Felix. For Trelamar's benefit, Felix looks like he wears a similar outfit to Reynard. He has the same gingery kind of hair, but he looks like Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec.
Right.
If you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
He has a big, thick moustache, coiffed hair. You can see that he has longbow and a crossbow. Like he's got all sorts of different ranged weaponry on him with like crossbows and a big pack that he kind of dumps down. He kind of he's the most awkward. Like he seems to be the one who feels the most out of place as he looks around. Reynard, my boy. Good to see you.
Uncle, and instead of when I previously met him for the first time, all I do is just a simple nod and just a hello, uncle. After the,
Yeah, he gives you a firm nod. He does offer a hand for a very firm man shake. Yeah. It's good to see you again, all of you as well. Thank you for inviting me. I hope that this breakfast will not be of elven kind. I mean no offense. However, I like to eat the food that my food does not eat.
I will do my very best.
Thank you.
Yes, Alora, if it could have some quail's eggs.
My
and
gods!
Breakfast meat?
Who is this man?
We'll see.
This man is Tralamar O'Leaf, a previous adventurer with this trio before I
Gives
rocked
you
up. I assume.
nod. Strange name, but strange looking fellow. Interesting.
Right back at you.
Like Felix Farrowhorn. I am Reynard's uncle.
Ah, I can see the family resemblance.
We share a very strong chin.
And fine facial hair.
He like nods, and that seems he like warms up. He's just like, "Thank you. You have a rather refined look for a gentleman. You seem a good older sort. Would you enjoy whiskey?"
I'll have a tipple now and then.
Good enough. And he like pulls out a small flask and hands it to you, and like you can take a swig. It's like
Yeah.
a nice strong, smooth whiskey. He takes it back. He sits next to you, and like, in between you and Reynard. Seems to take.
Chosen.
Yeah. Well, because Trelemar has this like aged up look. He has this kind of like Idris Elba, like older looking guy. So he's like this guy, not these young kids. So yeah, he heads over, and everybody is assembled.
Oh my god, I just realised that like Juto's probably a bit like April. Like just really grumpy and kind of hates social, like yeah.
That's why he likes Juto.
Yes, I am the worst assistant.
There's Burt Macklin.
I've been binge watching again recently.
Leslie Knope.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I don't know. I don't know if
please?
I don't know if he's Burt Macklin or bloody what's his name, Tom Haverford.
Yeah.
That's true.
DJ Rumba.
Oh my god.
yourself.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Anyway, those will make no.
Sferrier?
He wasn't on the list, was he?
Yes.
Elsferrier is. He actually hasn't arrived yet. He's not in Talis'Val yet.
Oh.
It was a day. It took a day for him to arrive. So
So we've got
One
the
spare.
5 of us:
One spare.
Felix, Grunker. Who else was there?
Cassandra, Korak,
Cassandra,
Lady Amy,
Korak.
and Dermot.
Damn it! Yeah, so we're one shy.
Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else?
Varys.
you need to go and send somebody for him.
Should we just
Who
pick
else?
a random like
Random dude who's just wandering around.
I mean, Cassandra's
boy.
like, I could bring in one of my squires. If
Yeah, sure.
You
Who
would
is- there
desperately
must be
need
someone
exactly
else,
12
though.
people.
Why can't we have Barris?
Whereas,
I was just
Do we
trying
have to
think
send
of
word
people
to
who
him?
have more sort of spells and stuff like that. That might benefit.
Alfred.
No.
It'll cure disease. Would that cure his disease? He's ill.
Age is a disease.
He already told you that he's tried to have it magically treated and it doesn't work. It's
I
magic
don't
resistant.
think a particularly.
He's ill. No, he has a disease.
I feel so much better.
So what's the plan? You can either try and find somebody, but that will obviously take up some
Could
time.
I not just send Granamir to go and get Barris?
You could
Because I can talk through
You could.
Granamir these days.
That would be
Or
terrifying for him.
does he just talk in your
He
voice?
talks in my voice, yeah.
Barris
Why
has
don't we
seen
just have
Granamir.
Granamir be the 12?
But
Granamir could eat the hero's feast as well, yeah.
Yeah, it could be resistant.
Some really, really like magic.
It would actually increase Granamir's hit points almost double. Like, it would actually nearly double Granamir's
An
hit
extra
points.
party member right there.
Yeah, you could use Granamir. He can benefit. He's a creature.
It's up to you guys. Just whoever you think
yeah,
is
but I
best
don't know.
for
Is it really worth it? Is it really
Well, I'll
worth
put it this
for
way.
Granamir?
Talis'Val is a big city. You don't know where Barris is or where he's stationed. You know he's probably somewhere near the
Yeah.
south gate.
Oh, I'm buggering.
It will take hours to get
Yeah.
him here and stuff like that. So,
Sorry,
to
Barris.
send word and then come back.
So Granamir?
So, Granamir.
I'm probably eyeing up the bread that's right in front of Lady Amy, but I don't want to ask for it.
Okay. She notices, in fact, let me do an insight check. She's got a super high insight. Right, she'd probably pick it up. She doesn't pass it to you.
Wow.
Oh,
so-
dude.
This is such good apple.
So Heroes Feast.
Heroes Feast.
A load of palicos come
Do you want
out,
the thing?
start cooking up loads of different bits of meat.
Quail's eggs.
Until
Do I finally get
Passing
noodles?
Okay. So you can decide what form
exist
of
in
meal
Talis'Val yet?
it is.
Ooh,
Oh.
You watch
no grapes.
Elora, as she's weaving the magic of this spell,
What are they?
the gem-encrusted cup kind of begins to collapse and it turns into a fine mist that then swirls all over the table. This large kind of oak table that seats 12. The cup breaks down into a fine sort of green mist that begins to coalesce and float around the table, filling cups, filling plates. But it is ultimately Elora's choice what form the meal takes.
I'd like to get the selection of the breakfast foods that the Ferrohorns would like,
Yes.
because I know that Juto also
Quail's
likes
eggs.
that.
Okay,
Make sure there's grapes
okay,
of every variety.
okay.
And then just a general.
Are you trying to
a
basically
bit
make
of
sure
every-
for
bit of
everybody?
Yeah.
No way.
So
Okay.
a little bit that
Does that
everyone
mean-
likes. What?
Juto.
Does that mean noodles?
Oh, if you wanted to, yeah.
Would Elora know what?
Would I know what noodles are?
Why don't you give me a history check?
Are they going to end up like pot noodles? So they're
Yeah.
not quite.
Not good, very good at
In which case,
history.
I'll probably take some like minus HP or something.
13?
13. You're vaguely familiar. She has like semi-described them, I would imagine, at some point.
Sure.
You know
Super
enough
noodles.
about it. You've also
noodles!
you vaguely recall like you were a little bit aware of some Underdark cuisine and things like that. And yeah, you conjure effectively what is a perfect feast for everyone. A mixture of different foods, a little bit of a delicacy for everybody. The Ferrohorns seem, well, Felix seems very pleased with, he basically just picks up a plate of bacon that is intended as a shared plate and just puts that on his plate, and then he's just eating that. You see that
Juto has noodles.
there is a, well, at first it's like it looks like it was probably intentioned as like a large soup bowl, but as it begins to feel, you see it's like a soup or something like that, but then it begins to bubble up and then change form, and then it just becomes like a big pile of like stir-fried noodles, ever so slightly seasoned, perhaps not in the exact way, but it is the closest thing you've seen, smelled, thought of.
Roll an insight check.
My insight is like plus, it's 22.
You could see that I'm sort of bubbling up.
Like they're finally there, and it seems to be a big part for you. Cam, next to Cam, there is just a bowl of grapes, like pre-picked off the vine, like
Can they
ready
be some
to.
of the moon ones as well? Because you
Yeah.
really like those.
Yeah, the
Glowy.
moon
The
grapes.
gluey
Yeah.
ones.
Can Granamir swoop in?
It's just like, oi, get off! He like hisses and throws his sting around at you, but then he pulls two.
I didn't miss this, Trell.
Okay.
Always eating my grapes.
So, have you got the card there? So it's 2d10, right?
2d10.
Written on the sheet I gave you.
Okay. Everybody's hit point maximum increases by 14.
Ooh, good
And that can be healed up.
That can be
while
healed up. So
it's-
for 24 hours, your hit point
Right.
maximum is plus 14. You might want to just keep a track of your old maximum
Yeah.
because it will go away.
Add it to the side.
110 HP.
And you are currently immune to being frightened and to poison.
I think we get advantage on
I was already in.
wisdom.
An advantage on wisdom saving throws.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it lasts for 24
Feel
hours.
invigorated.
It can be dispelled. It's not concentration, but if you were the target of dispel magic, it can be taken away.
Who am I
they
sat
might
next to
not
right now?
Who do you want to be sat next to?
Cassandra.
Yep.
To be a visual block between me and Lady Amy.
Okay. So do you do that awkward thing if you hover around and like, Cassandra, you should sit next to Lady Amy.
Spare seat here.
And she's like, okay, sits down.
I'm gonna whisper to Cassandra.
Okay.
I really blew it with Lady Amy last night.
I've heard. What? And she Cassandra looks at you quite seriously and is like, you should apologize.
Well, the thing is, right, I knew she had the hots for me from day one.
Cam.
Wait. And the reason I did it was so that she would stop thinking about me and fully focus on Korak.
Cam.
Yeah.
She looks at you. Trust me on this one. Lightborn insight, let's call it. Just
That hits deep because I don't have it.
honestly apologize. Like, this is, yeah, no. She just kind of looks. This might be my last battle, it could be your last battle.
Whoa, let's
it
not
could be
go
Lady
there.
Amy's last battle.
All
Just apologize.
I'm gonna arrange my grapes into an I'm sorry on my plate and lift them.
She looks away.
Grapes.
You consume the hero's feast. It takes an hour, so there is plenty of time for just catching up. Grunker.
Yeah, could I, during this entire thing, when I'm talking to different people, almost trying to get them to think of other things?
Okay.
Because I imagine a lot of people that might be sort of almost scared or worried or whatever, or thinking about the battle ahead.
A lot of people definitely seem to be quite intense. The only
Yeah.
people that don't seem to be is your uncle. And
He's
then
just
the
eating
people.
bacon.
Yeah, he's just like, your uncle seems to be kind of a bit reserved, like a bit sort of like, if what's going to happen is going to happen. Like.
Yeah, so I almost want to spend that time
Okay.
talking to them about, different things, happier things,
Mhm.
nicer things. So for that hour, we are not preparing for a battle.
Okay.
We are just
What kind of things?
12 people sat around a table, last dinner style.
Yeah. What kind of things do you talk about?
Well, like when I'd ask how you all met Trell, and I want to find out more about you, so I'd speak to you about that, and how you all eventually met each other in Greybell, and just all these little things that get them thinking about what they're working for, rather than,
Yeah.
a big old
Okay.
death battle.
Great. Yeah,
we
that's
can tell
awesome.
Tell we're all about the crocodile.
Oh yeah, I'll tell them about the crocodile. But I guess now I'd say that we killed.
Yep.
You finally say like we killed a giant crocodile after. Do you explain that you ran off on your own, or do you leave out?
I
certain
leave
things?
out a few details, Pharaohorn style. But
Okay.
I do explain how I slid down a palm tree and jumped on its back and used a dagger to stab it in the back of the head, which is really cool, by the way.
After we saw
Grunker is like, that sounds awesome.
It was great.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't see how that necessarily ties in, but I don't suppose that could be inspiring.
That will
BDE.
I will absolutely let that be inspiring leader. That seems like a good way of kind of getting everybody's mind off of the upcoming dread and the fear, and that would invigorate people, I think.
In that case, that is another 6 temporary HP.
Just 6? It should be higher than that now, I think.
I say 6. What I actually mean is 16.
Yeah. 16 temporary hit points. Now remember,
They
temporary
don't-
hit points
yeah,
don't
they
stack,
don't.
so it's like a damage
Once it's
shield.
gone, it's
Once
gone.
it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
If you get another amount, so let's say you lose a bunch and you've got 2 temporary hit points left, and Can gives you 10, you go to 10. You don't go to 12, you go to 10. They don't stack.
Also, that's for only 6 people, so...
So half of the table you just ignore.
I don't know, I don't not talk to them, I guess I just...
One-time benefit, it affects everybody.
Wow.
One-time benefit.
So inspiring.
Kind DM.
I spend 20 minutes talking to
Yeah,
companions.
yeah. Well, no. In theory, you could do that. You could basically just
Yeah.
spend 20 minutes talking
I
to
guess
6.
because you're
and then-
like individually,
Yeah.
like, 'cause,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so 16 temporary.
So yeah, the hit points from Hero's Feast can be healed back for as long as
But
Yes.
the temporary ones can't.
Can't, yeah.
Okay.
As it ends, can I just stand up really awkwardly and like
The scraping of a chair. I think
Everyone
Juto's
looks
trying
over
to
to
communicate to us.
I believe Miss Jing would like to say something.
my friends, my family, and I look at as much of our crew as possible. I won't lie, the last few months have been rather strange, but also rather enlightening. We face uncertain times, and all of us have changed from when we first met. I'm not going to say much more, but it has been an honour to fight by your sides and to learn from all of you. Fight well, live long, and prosper.
Absolutely ruined.
Yeah.
But in character, everyone's like, very serious.
Raise a glass in there. To us.
To us.
And to
Talis'Val.
Nods. Korak is just like, thank you all for sharing this with us. It is... I believe that this city is in the best hands it can be now. Now we must simply all do our individual parts to make sure that we all make it through this day to see another dawn. He just gives a nod, and he kind of stands up. I need to go and speak with the people. We have had our heartening words, but now they need some. Gives a nod, and you picks up his armor and his sword and shield. You see him head off. Lady Amy kind of stands up. It's just like, thank you all once again. If you had not rescued me from that temple, I would have been stuck there, perhaps who knows for how long, perhaps forever, never really existing. Finally, I have a chance to do what I promised Bahamut I wanted to do. She gives you a nod, and then makes her way out as well. Cassandra kind of gives a nod, and it's just like, well, those two are much better with words than me. I'm gonna go kill some Broken Sky. Kill them with me. Just kind of gives a nod, and then heads off as well. Leaving pretty much everybody else, really, with you guys. Dermot kind of just stands, is like, I don't know you lot that well, but thank you for including me in this. I know you didn't trust me initially after I decided to work with the council, but I hope you know that Talis'Val means a lot to me. I won't let it fall. And he just kind of gives a stern nod. You can see him, he's actually seems to have been perhaps one of the more quieter, more emotional ones at the table. Like, you can see he's probably a bit afraid, and he heads out, leaving, I think it's just Grunker and Felix with you guys now. And Grunker is just next, like, she just looks around, she's like, well, I'm not leaving without all of you, so I'll just wait, I guess. Felix is just like, yes, I have no dramatic reasons to leave. I will make my way to the walls once I have finished. Good day.
Is he still on that platter of bacon?
No, he's finished that.
Oh.
He's now like sipping whiskey and like eating a bit of bread and stuff like that, but he just isn't in no rush.
As if his arteries don't get in before,
No.
before the battle.
The Ferrohorn blood, no, it wouldn't be clogged up by mere breakfast foods.
I'll stand up, scraping my chair, and I'll bring out the DOS loot and provide myself some backing.
Ding, 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 ding.
Friends, uncle of you, Grunker, lover of you.
Grunker like looks, threatens to throw a fork. She like looks at Reynard like,
It's truly been an
she
honor.
holds the fork just ready.
Grunker, please,
He said not yet.
after. It's been great. You've all had the privilege of being around me this whole time.
Not yet.
And I've had the privilege of being around you. Trell, it's great to have you back, even though Granny stole my grapes. And I wish us all luck. Not that we need it, but anyway, it's there. To me, and you, and for Talis'Val. I put a grape in there and squish it into a little drink. Down it.
Just a nod.
Kill me after, but I'd like to survive the fight first.
On that topic, you should probably try and keep him alive. He's the one with the power to bring people back.
Not me.
We'll see.
Well,
We can find a way.
with that, we're gonna go to a break,
Ooh.
and then when we come back,
Oh.
things will begin.
17 temporary hit points. I added up wrong.
17.
I guess the last
Ooh.
thing you guys hear is just horns being blown in the distance,
Oh.
signaling the defenders to their positions.
At the end of the Hero's Feast, I will also cast Aid.
Okay.
Let's do that now.
Can you?
I was going to do it at the start of the battle.
Aid increases maximum hit points, so it will stack.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay.
does it?
We'll sort that out in the break.
Can that be healed up?
We'll sort that in the break.
Okay.
But you cast Aid.
Okay.
Yes.
We will see you in a very short time. We're going to try and come back really quickly on this one because I don't want to lose too much time. So everybody, be really quick with peas and getting drinks, and then we'll
Yes,
be back.
Dad.
Back soon.
Back
Don't
soon.
go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. Bye.
The battle begins.
Hello! Welcome back to High Rollers. Thank you for coming back and joining us to this rather epic situation. So, just to jump straight back into it, after your hero's feast, after Cam has cast Aid, you begin to hear horns blowing across the city, all from the outer rim walls. I'm assuming you will head your way towards the southern gate, where
Yes.
Dermot is leading those particular forces.
Can I apologise to Lady Amy on the way?
Yes. She accepts it.
I'm really
But
sorry.
you can see that she accepts it. She's a
was
very
out of
forgiving
line.
person.
I'm jealous of Korak. You
She
guys,
doesn't, she's like, you don't, I understand why, but
you guys were great together. You're both dragon lovers, loving of dragons.
Mr. Buckland, let's continue this conversation after the battle.
It's a
But
deal.
I forgive you.
That's good.
As you are rushing towards the southern gate, you notice that many other soldiers, messengers are as well. You actually see quite a few, they almost look like commoners, but they've kind of managed to scrap together sort of like weapons, but they're mainly artisans, and you can see that a few of the soldier officers and captains are arguing with them, but ultimately they're kind of like, yeah, they don't focus on them too much. But quite a lot of the guilds have actually, like, you see like the masons and the blacksmiths are there with like their forge hammers and chisels, and they're behind the wooden barricades that block off parts of the city, or they're in their guild buildings, and they've basically readied themselves that if anybody breaks through, they're going to come in and fight them as well. So, and you see like the carpenters, like Baltier and a load of the lumberjacks are there with like their big wood cutting axes,
They're fighting
and it seems to be like Baltier's just kind of cheerily waves at you and stuff like that. It seems that the guilds of the city want to do their part as well, and so they're kind of taking positions. When you reach the walls, you ascend up several of there are kind of towers with staircases that lead up to the main walls interspersed, and you can see that most of the army, there are ground forces, so people that are positioned by the gates, people that are basically ready to run ammunition up and down, but the walls themselves can't have everybody on them. They're not that big. Instead, what they have done is lined about 3 columns deep of archers, ranged weapons, but then also melee fighters at the front for in case any of them actually reach the walls. Very Helm's Deep kind of look of like, you know, rows and rows of like archers and swordsmen and shieldsmen and everything else at the front. The commanders are all spaced out. Dermot is right in the middle on the main central gate, and you can see him kind of pointing and shouting. And as you reach the top of the stairs, that's when you kind of see the kind of first glimpses of this enemy force. The force extends almost like in a crescent moon around the eastern side of Talis'Val, so basically kind of dominating the southern, the northern, and then the eastern side of the city. The western side faces towards the Shard Lake, which is somewhat interspersed. Scattered, yes. There are pockets where there isn't anybody, like almost like blocks and columns. Rows and rows of, I mean, at this distance you can see them as vaguely humanoid shapes, but maybe you occasionally see like the orangey skin of a hobgoblin, green skin of an orc, mixed in with human skin tones as well, sort of like ranging from light to dark, all different sorts of people. They're all, however, match in their uniform that they're wearing, which is a pale blue with a symbol you've not seen before. It is a crown of jagged lightning bolts above a storm cloud. And it seems to be kind of almost like the old broken sky symbol of the cloud being broken by the lightning bolt, but this is now much more regal. It has almost like, like the emblem of a kingdom or a queendom, perhaps. And you can see that scattered amongst their number are these huge armored kind of metal plates welded, like fixed to the sides, devices. They almost have like wheels, and you can see hobgoblins and people inside them pushing them. There's a mixture of battering rams. There are, launchers, their own catapults. They've brought basically a complete field of war. Most dangerously, you see several hill giants and stone giants all spread out, perhaps maybe sort of like 40, 50 of them in the whole army, all spread out with dragging like huge kind of like wagons with big rocks that they've gathered up. And they're bringing these, and they're all intermixed amongst the army. And then, that's pretty much what you can see at this distance. Their props about a mile away, so they're just out of range of some of the siege weaponry and things like that. But Dermot is actively keeping the sieges and the catapults and the ballistae at the ready. He's ordering them not to fire just yet. he wants to wait until they can do the most sort of like damage when they begin rushing forward, because right now they could probably easily see it coming. And this is how it goes. So, just to explain a couple of things, especially for you guys at home, this is not going to work like normal combat, and this is very much house ruled. Some of it might not make sense in terms of like, well, that's not how a catapult really works. You're just going to have to run with us on this one, guys. This is all homebrew. There are no official rules for mass scale battles just yet, so bear with me. You have enough time to kind of get acclimatized. You can position yourselves anywhere amongst the southern wall that you'd like. Dermot is happy to give you recommendations. He obviously suggests that Reynard, you jump on one of the ballistae along with your uncle. Felix is also mounted on them. Cool. Grunker is basically positions herself on top of the wall, flails at the ready. Cassandra and the squires are actually kind of mixed up. You see, not all of them are at the southern gate. Some of them are positioned at the northern gate. Lady Amy is actually positioned at the northern gate as well, just because they need to spread out the forces just in case. Korak, as you arrive, like you can see a lot of the soldiers kind of going up to him, and he seems to be like quite a big leader in terms of like a lot of people are kind of looking to him, and he's giving out advice and orders and things like that as well. Shortly after you arrive, you begin to hear thuddering footsteps and a armed escort along with Sverrir and Howl. And Sigurd as well. Although no, Sigurd would probably go to the northern gate, so they've got multiple forces, but you see Sverrir and Howl arrive, and quite a few of the soldiers seem very uneasy with him being there, but he soon is kind of like...
Has he got a banner?
He has basically, it looks to me like maybe it's like a large flag, but it's kind of being tied as like a cloak. So he has this green cloak with the symbol of Talis'Val sideways on it. And he's kind of had that attached to his like uniform. You can see he doesn't really like it. He keeps shrugging. He's constructed a bow as well, like a giant bow, like the one he used to use with giant arrows. And he's kind of like, and he can almost peer over the wall. Like he's not quite tall enough to peer over the walls, but once he mounts on some of the buildings, he can actually sort of just about peer over it. And you can see him like scouting around. And yeah, everyone begins to take in their positions, and then an echoing cry begins to resonate over the hills around Talis'Val as you begin to hear this kind of like, almost like a raw chant coming from the enemy forces, this Broken Sky army, as they then begin to rush forward at the sound of horns blasting. The walls explode into action and the defenders get ready to do battle. So the way this is going to work is sieges go on for a long time. Each hour, you guys can take 2 actions, we're going to call them. You can cast spells, and that's, takes up, that would be what you're doing for that sort of period of time. Because of the way it works, any damage you do, things like individual attacks will basically do nothing. But things like area of effect spells, area of effect attacks using catapults will do damage to what are called the enemy's fighting force. And that represents not just hit points, but their morale, their strength, their numbers, everything else. Anything that you do in that hour that isn't an action is represented by you communicating, coordinating with the other commanders, running supplies, getting what you need, but also using things like cantrips, ranged attacks, doing what you can to just pick off individual soldiers. So we assume that that's already happening. The action is your like big spells or anything that you want to do that's going to make a big difference. Things like that to think about. So I know it doesn't quite work out, but it's the best way of representing the chaos of a big battle, right? Your defenders also have a fighting force, so the army of Talis'Val has a fighting force, a HP value, which if you want to, you can try and replenish by, giving first aid or like inspiring people and doing stuff like that as well. So it's up to you. You won't know how much what the enemy force is or what your force is. That's going to be a rough guide based on how the battle's going, because you're in the middle of this big thing that's taking place around the whole city. So it's going to kind of be a little bit of you're always unsure about how well you're doing. So, for the first hour, what would you like to do as your first action each?
Can I be with the ballista near Reynard and his uncle, and just be constantly casting on each bolt a guidance?
Okay, so each time they fire, you're basically just guidance,
assisting him to ensure that he hits the target.
Yeah, absolutely.
Telling him to focus on the giants.
Okay, yeah.
Since I'm basically mounting a giant weapon? Can
Yeah,
I
it's kind
use
of got like a.
things
You're kind of like in a seat. It's like a giant crossbow, and you're kind of like having to like aim it, and it's got like a telescope kind of thing.
So I could use things like Conjure Barrage and Lightning Arrow and.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely.
In that case, could I use Lightning Arrow and use those bolts to focus down the siege equipment they have?
Sure. So you can easily the giants, the siege equipment, and a few spellcasters amongst the enemy forces. Those are all targets you can target individually, and because they have such a strategic value, you can kind of attack them with single attacks as normal. But they have resistances because there's a lot of them and things like that. So absolutely. So when you attack with the ballistae, it is not a weapon you are proficient in, so you just add your dex mod, but you will also get guidance from Cam.
You get a D4.
Okay, so just my dex mod, that's a
Yep.
12 plus the d4, it's 14.
And you're going for the siege equipment, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's with lightning.
Okay. So
Arrows.
the ballistae fires a large, like you kind of feel this kind of like as the bolt flies through. It easily hits into this armored kind of wheeled device. Roll the damage for me, though. It definitely seems that the big, thick armor plates absorb some of not only the impact but some of the lightning as well.
Can I have 2 more d8s? Okay,
Get the weird scroll dice.
so that's, what is that? 5, 8, 12, 14 damage.
14.
And then everything in a 10-foot radius of that, does it still affect 10? Is it still
That's
10 foot?
absolutely, yeah. So what is that?
So everything then gets another 2d8 damage.
Okay, so just add it all together for me.
another 10.
So 14.
So 28 to the area.
Surrounding area. Yeah.
So is that 28 was just to the area, or was it 10 to
Oh
the
no, sorry,
area?
10 to the area,
Okay.
14 to the very specific.
Okay, so yeah, you watch as Reynard's ballista kind of goes, and this bolt flies through. It hits the siege weapon, which kind of buckles, but it kind of rocks and rolls. You can see you've blown off some of the armor plates, but it's still kind of going. But then this kind of chain lightning echoes out, and you can see several of the hobgoblins dying and orcs falling down and broken sky members, but you kind of like made a small pocket in a larger swarm kind of running towards you.
More of that. Do that more.
Okay, so Trelemar, what would you like to do at this point?
Can I just cast Circle of Death into like the big
So
swarm
you
of
wait until
people?
like a bunch of them get close, and then you Circle of Death. Absolutely. How does Circle of Death go?
Circle of Death.
Well,
Sounds great.
okay, so...
big circle that kills everybody.
Sphere of negative energy ripples out 60-foot radius from a point within range. Each creature in that area must take a Constitution saving throw. A target takes 8d6 necrotic damage
Okay.
on a failed save, or half as much on a successful.
Okay, so I think because this is an area of effect and the amount of creatures you're affecting, let's just assume you do full damage, because this is the exact type of spell that's perfect. You're hitting loads of enemies, you're just right, and not only are you damaging them, this thing is horrible. It's like this thick, inky blackness swirls up out of the ground and just begins disintegrating, and so it shakes the morale of everyone around it. So just roll up the damage for me straight away. So what do you need?
8d6.
There's one more.
Damn.
There's 3 here.
Oh, 8d6. Well, I've got a load here.
Yeah, there you go. Tons.
5, 6.
1, 2, 3.
Well, that's
It's 8.
Yeah.
Roll it in your tray. Oh, that's not that great. So we've got that's 5, 10, 15, 23.
23.
Oh.
Okay, so you watch as basically this spell ripples out amongst the forces, these Broken Sky forces, and begins kind of like tearing apart several of their, forces. You see hobgoblins falling down, clutching at like disintegrated limbs, and the others are clearly shaken, but they're kind of pushed onwards, and everything else. The hill giants are throwing rocks at the walls, which smash into the defenses. Several soldiers are being blown past you as these giant boulders collapse in. Several of the spellcasters are like launching, bolts of magical energy, striking the defenders, knocking them back, and everything else. Juto, what would you like to do?
Is anything like within 30 feet?
What do you want to do before? Just don't worry about too much about ranges and things like that.
I was wondering if at this point, like Water Whip, I could use it to kind of, if people are climbing the
They're not climbing up the
walls.
thing yet,
Okay.
but you could definitely do that later on. But at this point, it's mainly still a little bit more out of.
It's not a
How
great
far away are
terrain.
they actually?
It
Doesn't.
if it's unless it's really close, like a water whip, which is like 30 feet,
Yeah.
like assume that it might just be a few stragglers, like a few advanced runners get close, but nobody's at the walls yet. Something like water whip or melee attacks won't be
I think
effective
I'm
until.
a bit redundant. At this point.
There is catapults you can easily jump on.
Yeah, you could
Things
assist
like
with
that.
stuff on the wall for now.
Juto does a war cry.
Oh god, I had another idea. Would deflect missiles do anything? Like if, but I guess that's too small, isn't it?
It's also
Like-
it needs to be targeted at you.
Yeah,
Whereas
okay.
a lot of this stuff is just being thrown, or they're firing bows at forces in general. Most of your defenses will come into it a little bit later on at the end of each hour.
How damaged do people around me look?
I mean, it's just the beginning of the battle, so it's
So
like
nothing
mini injuries
too-
and stuff like that. But yeah.
So how would jumping onto a catapult and screwing it up work? Like, would it just be...
You would just you roll a d20 plus your dex mod to see if you get an indirect or a direct hit.
Can I help with the guidance on that, or?
You were assisting Felix and Reynard, so
Could I help with the guidance on that?
if you want to, if that can be
Could-
your action, you're basically assisting Juto.
Could I use air stance and kind of fly out? You know,
No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm trying not to get hit by ground forces. So if I use air stance to fly out, jump down onto a catapult, fuck it up, and then go back.
Oh, you want to go after their siege weapons. You want to personally go
Yeah.
after into the big battle. You can do that if you want.
Not take you off the wall.
Yeah. Okay, I'll help with the catapults then.
Okay.
So what was
So
it?
roll a d20 and add your dex mod.
Jesus. Oh, there she goes.
Oh, she's dead.
Anything to stop her now.
Hour one. Yeah. 13. Oh, plus guidance.
D4.
D4.
No.
No, I'm not going to do
Okay.
it, sorry.
I
Oh,
think
Another
Cam's
action.
actively
13.
doing that to all.
But I'm close
you
to you
guys.
guys.
Yeah. 13.
13, yeah? Okay. So with the 13, you kind of you work with the defenders and you're kind of like, adjust this, adjust the angle, and like you're like climbing up and kind of giving the directions and helping aim it. They launch back and a large kind of big sort of stone orb is launched through into the air and it collides in with a large group of troops. Deals about 20 points of damage to the fighting force. So this kind of catapult goes, it doesn't quite hit like any direct targets, like it doesn't go for a giant, it just kind of lands into amongst everything else. Elora.
I'm going to cast Tidal Wave. So.
Okay. Tell me how Tidal Wave works.
Uh,
This is not a spell I know, so...
It's from
Xanathar's.
Xanathar's, but it's druid friendly. It's druid friendly. You conjure a wave of water that crashes down on an area. The area can be up to 30 feet long, 10 feet wide, and 10 feet tall. Each creature in the area makes a dex throw. On a fail, they take 48 bludgeoning and are knocked prone.
Okay, perfect. So, once again,
Trampled by the...
like
and
Circle
also,
of Death...
it extinguishes any unprotected flames within the area.
Okay.
Just because that's super important,
There
you
are
know?
fire giants nearby.
There
was
are no
gonna- I
fire
want
giants,
to-
but you...
Are there giants
There are
though?
spellcasters and things like that.
I want to target towards spellcasters and giants where I can get an area where there's most of them.
Okay, yep, so in that regard, if you want to target specific individuals with spells like that, then I'll make saving throws for them, but everybody else is just going to fail. So just roll the damage for me as if you succeeded.
Oh, that doesn't look great.
I'm assuming when you cast a spell, you target kind of like priority areas where you can catch
Yeah.
like giants and spellcasters regardless. And again, think of it not as damage, but you're kind of hitting everybody, so it kind of
19.
does that, 19.
Blood.
Okay, so
And they're knocked prone.
you watch as this big kind of thing, and for the knocked prone, I'll give you some extra damage for that as well.
I thought if I knocked a
'cause,
giant
like,
down, it
yeah.
would fall on people and squish them.
Absolutely, which is why I'm going to give you extra like morale damage and things like that. So this tidal wave, you kind of watch as this wave of water rises up in front of the gates of Talis'Val and then rushes forward and collides with several of the defenders who are oncoming, and it just knocks several of them down, sprawling out their forces.
Who
and
did
things like
that?
that.
What? my god.
That only counts as one.
That only counts as one.
Despite these actions, you can see the defenders on your side, they're firing bows back, more siege weapons firing. You can see Sferia is like picking up giant rocks and he's basically picking up catapult ammo and just throwing it into the enemy. And then he picks up his bow and he's trying to target enemy giants and things like that. Korak is like rallying cries. He doesn't have a weapon, but he's kind of commanding and pointing out things to do and places to strike. Dermot's trying to coordinate the defenses, like focusing on specific targets, but the enemy rushing towards you is still massive. You've made small dents in a larger wall, like an oncoming rush of water and stone towards you. What else? Next, what would you like to do for your other action?
What is Korak?
I might quickly change it and make it only 1 action per hour because it's going to go very slowly otherwise. But I will adjust numbers on my end.
What's Korak telling the people on the battlements with the...
He's just basically kind of like, he's just like...
Is he telling us...
Stand, hold the line, you know, fight, you know, striking the true enemy. Blah, blah, blah. He's just kind of giving like generic kind of inspiring stuff. Second hour.
The sorcerers, are they healing people? Or are they casting offensive spells?
As you ask, you watch as several of these kind of warcasters, and they seem to vary between like orc-looking shamans, hobgoblins, sort of like almost like armored wizards, and human broken sky cultists in robes. Several of them kind of launch out, and you can see them conjuring sort of like fireballs and things like that. But rather than throwing them at the defenders, they begin arching them into the air. And you watch as several fiery projectiles fly over the walls and begin landing in the city behind you, catching several buildings on fire, several explosions, like detonate the buildings, setting kind of like the wooden thatch roofs, setting structures on fire. Dermot and the others kind of turn back and they're like, "Bloody hell! We need somebody to deal with these." As he points back. So you guys know as well, at the end of each hour, the defenders automatically do damage to the bad guys, and the bad guys do damage back to the defenders. Dermot kind of looks over to you. He's just like, "Can any of you do something with that fire, or I've got to dedicate some of our forces?"
I'll deal with it.
All right. So So in that case, he's not going to dedicate any of the soldiers to deal with the fires. So
Very well.
Just do what you did, but backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't cast Hallow on the south gate in the end, did you?
No.
Okay.
Lady Amy got mad.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, she did do it on the north gate.
yeah.
Yeah, she still
Yeah,
did it on
she's
north.
on
She wasn't
the
going to do it because she was
Sounds
mad
good.
at Cam and not
Yeah,
do it.
that would
but
be like-
she just
yeah.
did it on the north
Right.
gate. Pretty bad.
God damn it, Cam!
Okay.
Think of the bigger picture.
So you see
lady.
that rise behind you. What's everyone want to do?
The warcasters, could I use... If I was really far away from them and I had a 60-foot cone on Conjure Barrage, how much of a range would that actually hit? That seems like a lot.
Well, it's the idea of the spell is it hits a 60-foot cone in front of you, so it goes out to 60 foot.
Oh.
But for the purposes of this, we'll say that with the ballista, you're going to like arch it or aim it. It hits a group of people. So it will just roll. So what's the damage on a Conjure Barrage?
It's 3d8.
So just roll 3d8.
I have one more.
Because there's so many, I'm not going to make
goodness.
saving throws. You're hitting so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
that you just deal the damage. But obviously you're having to do a lot more damage. So
Oh, they did get to take a dex save as well.
no, they don't, because there's so many of them. They can't really leap and dodge out of the way. This isn't a one-on-one battle.
Yeah, it's 10.
10 points.
Where did you get them?
Okay.
Born
So you
the
watch
other
as
day.
like you start these magical kind of like these splinter bolts of ballistae kind of fly out, impaling hobgoblins and orcs as they go. But as you're kind of firing, you notice that a lot of these like archers are actually aiming for the ballistae, trying to take out the targets as well, and you're constantly having to duck and dodge and weave and kind of stay protected basically. Tromar, what would you like to do?
These spellcasting chappies, can I just Eldritch Blast?
Yeah, if you want to target a spellcaster specifically. So if you want to do that, so
Yeah.
you make an attack roll with Eldritch Blast as normal.
Cool.
However, you have disadvantage on the attack rolls. Several of them seem to conjure like mirror shields, or they mirror image themselves, or they become blurry.
That's who I was targeting as well, that group of I was targeting.
Well, any kind of area effect will just hit areas around them. If you want to single target spellcasters, then you're making attacks against them.
Okay.
So I've got 3, haven't I?
Yeah. But targeting like an individual spellcaster isn't as effective as wiping out large amounts of targets.
So we've got a 25, a 20, and an 11.
Okay, so it's all with disadvantage though, so you need to roll twice and take the lowest.
I'm not gonna get much lower than that.
So probably the these two plus the 11,
11,
from previous.
So what's that? That's
What's the modifier?
plus 10.
22,
22,
and 21.
21,
Okay,
11.
so both of those will hit,
And a 1.
and these deal full damage. So just roll damage for me.
Cool.
As you watch, Trell's kind of like looking for where these spellcasters are, and as they kind of appear, he's blasting with Eldritch Power. Yes, there you go.
Here.
I'm not going to need any dice really, so.
So we've got 15, a 9, and...
Well, the 11 didn't hit, so only 2 of them.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So just roll 2 again. So, sorry.
So that's 14.
Okay.
And a 6.
Okay. Okay, so Trell starts focusing on these spellcasters, and throughout that hour, you're constantly just blasting at these spellcasters. Like, you're kind of changing what you do each round. Like, your barrage is like you repeatedly doing that. You know, even though you're not spending the spell slots, you're constantly just blasting these spellcasters as they do. And very much like Reynard, like you're constantly having to like leap out of the way as like giant rocks kind of collide into the wall, send things scattering down. Everything else. Juto, what are you doing?
Can I go into water stance and use water whip to like put out as many of the fires?
So you basically spend an hour in water stance, basically going around, or like a minute of water stance, but you're kind of leaping around, using water whip to kind of like splash water over that area.
Yeah, and
probably like find like the largest fire and then finishing move to.
If I can I, are there any like, I guess not civilians or anything, but people on the ground who I can kind of rally to form bucket
Yeah,
chains?
if you want to do that, you're going to need to you can do it 2 ways. You can either try and persuade them to help by being nice and kind of encouraging, which is a persuasion, or you can try and intimidate them, like yelling at them, like, fucking move, come on, do this.
Try persuasion.
Okay, so just roll a persuasion check. I mean, they're going to help, but it's just whether you can help make them useful.
14.
14? Yeah, it's enough. Like between your water whip, you're probably going to need to use your finishing move to like put out the larger fires, but you just need to do it as base level. And along with the help that you get from some of the artisans that you find, like you kind of gather up like as many citizens that are still around, and between the lot of you start, you know, bucketing waters and fires and putting the fires out. But obviously it does take you away from the front lines a little bit to help with
It's all
everything.
just didn't have to come back.
Cam or
We'll see as
Katie?
it burnt down.
You go first.
Gonna use Call Lightning.
Okay.
So it's a 60-foot radius, and then it's up to 10 minutes of it. So it's every time I use it, it's like 5-foot points. So it's just gonna be...
roll the damage once, and that represents you through the hour, like constantly, like boom, sending up these huge chunks of debris and the lightning bolts as they strike down.
It's only 11. That was abysmal.
Okay. Well, no, because these bolts are hitting these kind of single points, like vaporizing like pockets of soldiers at a time. But again, it's so expansive that you're constantly kind of having to direct where they're going and everything else. At the end of the second hour, this is where the fatigue, like you're constantly fighting, you're constantly casting spells, is going to take in. I need everybody to roll a Constitution
Sure,
saving
hasn't gone
throw.
yet. Hasn't
Oh,
gone
go
yet.
on. Sorry, Cam first.
It'll be more guidance, and I'd start also Shield of Faithing people in preparation of the oncoming attack.
Okay, so you want to spend your time doing that. Okay, what I'll do is I'll reduce the amount of damage the defenders take this turn, because you're kind of going
So a
around
spell
protecting them.
slot.
Yeah, basically mark off a Shield of Faith spell slot, and then you're kind of like using encouragement and cantrips and everything else to kind of like guidancing them to like dodge out the way and stuff.
And then
Yeah.
Shield of Faithing them as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I will reduce the amount of damage they take. So everyone needs to make a Constitution saving throw against getting tired.
Natural 20.
Ooh.
22.
16.
Okay, so for this first part of the battle, you guys are fine. Like you're feeling tired, but you're willing to pressure on.
Do I feel rejuvenated with a natural 20?
No, that's not how it works.
Can I have a key point back?
No, you just feel really good, like you're really pumped up. The other thing
Noodles, you're all
is,
good.
so
Worth a try.
none of you have an AC higher than 26, I'm assuming.
No.
So all of you, just through kind of like arrows that come flying past, dodging out the way of boulders, you're all going to take 10 points of damage.
Off the temporary.
So if you've got temporary hit points, it comes off those first. But basically this represents like the various arrows, the spells that are near misses, you're constantly dodging out of the way. Not only are you getting tired, but you're kind of being worn down by this constant flow of attacks.
That was 10, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, beginning of hour 3, the forces are now kind of like really close, and they're starting to kind of try and set up siege like ladders and things like that at the bases of the things. But they're not quite all there yet. This is like just the front forces are arriving slower. The giants are kind of lumbering towards it, still just throwing these rocks, which are like taking huge chunks out of the walls. But you can see that the forces themselves, you've definitely made some big gaps, especially like with the big spells and things like that. You're beginning to sort of weaken their forces, but at the same time, your own forces are starting to waver a little bit as well. You can see that quite a lot of injured are being pulled down into the hospitals. Things like ammunition is constantly having to run back up as the archers are just constantly firing and like losing it out. Even Sferia, you can see, is kind of like getting a little bit tired and is kind of having to stop and find new ammunition and things like that. You watch as one of these large kind of metal siege weapons that was kind of rolling towards, several of them, like maybe 2 or 3 of them are, you watch as the hobgoblins stop and begin cranking open these front gates, and these maybe about sort of like several dozen creatures, long shaped, kind of almost like land sharks, these kind of like bipedal creatures with long sloping heads and huge digging claws, emerge out and they snap around angrily, but they're kind of like ferried with long sticks, and they begin to dig under the ground heading towards Talis'Val. Korak yells out, he looks over, he's just like, "We have bullets incoming! Bullets will dig under the walls! Somebody needs to deal with them!"
All right.
So would any of you like to take on that role?
So I guess the siege equipment they have, which is just cages.
Some of it, well, not all of it. Some of them are these kind of caged things that they kind of lead these creatures out, and then they're just kind of left behind. But some of them are still coming towards the gates.
Okay, so that was just a one purpose they served. There's no point.
That seems to be some of them, yeah.
How do we even get stuff under the ground?
Well, it's up to you guys. If you don't deal with it, then it will need some of the defenders' force to take on. So, who would like to do what for this hour?
So how do we
I'm
deal with
reserving
that?
myself for the frontal attack. However, there's a lot of injured people around, you say? That have been carted away.
It's definitely like your forces have suffered like maybe a quarter loss so far, just like through these giants and things like that.
I'll go to
the magic.
the closest medical phase in the next hour and cast some mass healing words.
Okay, you're going to do it as a mass healing word. Okay, great. So roll up how much hit points you would normally restore, and I will have this restored as fighting strength. I hate that dice.
Well, it's 8 HP because it's a level 3.
Okay.
It's mass. En masse for everybody.
So is it just the 1d8? Because mass healing word is like d4s, isn't it? It's like 3d4. Like, actually look at the spells.
It's 1d4 plus my spellcasting modifier.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was more. So just 8, yeah?
60 feet.
60 feet. So we'll say that.
I'm not going full hog yet, basically.
No,
Just
that's fine.
touching people up.
Yeah, you kind of...
En masse.
There's so many that even within 60 feet, like the amount of creatures you can affect is quite small, but the morale of you kind of going around, and many of these soldiers, like their wounds instantly knit up, and you can see that gashes that were life-threatening suddenly become like minor scrapes, and so they're like, oh, thank you, and then they like grab their weapons and they head back out onto the field and things like that. The rest of the hour you do things like spare the dying, and you're kind of like making your way around.
Because that's cantrips, right? So I can just...
Yeah, you can just constantly keep doing that as you're moving around. Why don't you give me just quickly a religion skill check as well.
Natural 1.
Which, a total?
0.
Okay, so you're trying to go around and you're trying to kind of like, you know, blessed by Evandra and you spare the dying, but it's kind of getting lost in amongst like the chaos. Like you're kind of dealing with so many injured that like you know your spells are doing stuff, but you're not sure if this is kind of providing any benefit. Like the you know, there's so many, you're just not sure what's going on really.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. So that was Cam.
I don't know what to do about those two digging
So they're
things.
under the ground.
Can't like an element.
You can see them like almost like torpedoes burying their way
Okay.
towards the walls.
And there's just a wave of them.
There's like several dozen, but like they're all kind of scattered out. Like if you, again, don't forget you've got like an hour. So like if you cast a spell, it's like you focusing, or like if you're making attacks on those areas, it's kind of like you're channeling that energy for an hour.
Could Spheria just like pound the ground and earthquake?
Well, they're outside the walls. They're coming towards the walls currently. They're almost, like little underground torpedoes. You can see the earth being like above them as they...
If the walls go down, this is bad news.
So if I-
It's definitely not enough of them to take down the walls, but they could probably like dig
Burrow
under it and
in,
create
yeah.
like passages and things like
Would
that.
tremor sense kind of help locate them?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so if I used it in Earth Stance, could I direct some of the defenders to fire at us, or
I'd say that would be enough.
that
yeah.
help?
Yeah. I'd say for sure.
In which case, I'd like to go into Earth Stance
Okay.
and use tremor sense to sort of
Okay.
sense where they're burrowing and kind of guide
Like
a
like
selection
soldiers
of
and things
forces,
like that
yeah.
to like throw down weapons or like
Yeah,
you know
a
you can-
target
yeah, exactly.
area.
And they've got things like the ballistae and stuff which are powerful enough to strike through the earth. Okay, yeah. Why don't you? So for that, give me a perception check. I think would make the most sense on this. Like you trying to like roughly where they are, but because tremor sense is a small area, you're kind of having to move around, like run up and down, sort of like on the ground level and try and figure out where they are.
Can I assist with that?
Yeah.
Because
if
I've
you want
got
to.
good perception.
Sure.
So I'd like to assist with that.
So you're
to
basically,
take
the
care
two of
it.
you are going to basically do that. So
Yeah.
the two of you choose who you want to make the perception check, and then you'll have advantage.
I've got +3 to perception.
10.
You do it.
Okay. So
Got
between,
4 eyes.
and you have advantage
21.
because Juto's helping you as well.
28.
28. Okay. So 28. Let's do that.
You really perceive them.
Fucking
Yeah.
know exactly where they are.
Well, basically, so Juto is kind of running up and down the line, like kind of sensing it. It's like, I think they're around here, and then you will basically like try and listen, drowning out the sound of this battle. And then you're also leading the others and saying like, there, and then you'll point, and then into the ground. Like you can see one of these creatures kind of stops and pulls up, and most of the creatures get taken out. Like, friendly wizards and things like that will like, rip them out of the earth and things like that. Catapults will kind of be used to like, knock them
Smush
down. And none of the defenders have to divert too much of their attention away. They need to divert some of it away, but not all of it. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. I think it's just you two.
Okay. Could I guess focus fire some of the fire giant? How many of the land sharks are left? Are they enough
The
to?
land sharks are dealt with.
Okay.
Like enough of you have taken turns to deal with them that is no longer a threat.
In that case, I would like to focus down some of the fire giants.
Okay.
In that, could Hunter's Mark, I can freely, once one dies, shift it onto another one?
Yeah,
So I
you-
want
so-
to like pinpoint one
yeah,
fire giant,
absolutely.
kill that, shift
Yep.
it onto the next one, just
Sure,
take
sure,
them out one by one.
So for this, Hunter's Mark will be fine. So just basically make an attack with a ballistae. So you roll a d20 plus your dex mod.
22.
22. So it's a direct hit. So you actually are going down the line and you're taking out these hill giants.
Oh, the hill
And
giants, yeah.
you're basically, because you're firing, like you're constantly, you're like loading up and you've got soldiers loading it for you. You're just kind of like focusing, the dead eye, one stone giant, one ballistae, the second ballistae kills him. You move on to the next one, boom, several of them go stunning down.
Reynard Fairhorn, giant killer.
So, and then
yeah,
Hunter's Mark
Giant
is
Slayer.
what, d6?
Hunter's Mark is an extra d6. I've also got Hunter.
Roll that.
Is it
once.
favoured enemy? Does that get
It's a
rid of
favoured
extra?
enemy as well.
So how much does favored enemy add?
36.
Plus 4.
Giants.
So
Giants.
And I have advantage on saving throws against
okay,
them.
so just roll a d6 for Hunter's Mark and then add 4 for your favored enemy.
8.
Okay, so between the direct hit of the ballistae and you focusing on these giants, you deal about 40 points of damage to their fighting force because these giants are really hammering the walls. They're like, these giant stones that they're throwing are like knocking down whole parts of the battlements.
Nice.
Sounds good.
And you can see that like that really shakes up the enemy forces. Like you now see like several of the wizards are now trying to protect the giants from you. They're like casting illusions or like magic defenses on them to like try and deflect the arrows away.
Okay.
As that goes on, Trelemar.
Can I join in with the giant assault?
Yeah, so
The
you're gonna
giant
try and
assault.
so,
Can I cast
so you want
blight
to
on
yeah okay so you can just so with the blight so what is it
Yeah.
Constitution saving throw?
Yep.
Trelemar and
So-
Reynard working together.
What's your DC for your
So
spells?
nice.
It is 16.
16. That is actually going to be they do pass so it's half damage because
Yeah.
they've got enough. But basically you just roll half damage and you deal that damage to their fighting strength because you're kind of like targeting one and then you kind of like flinging the energy onto another one and the morale of watching this giant just eaten alive by this spell is enough.
Can I have 8d8? I've got 2.
There's a green.
Little scrolls for
Share the
you.
dice.
You think what?
Don't use those
2,
scrolls.
3,
Why not?
5, 6,
They're
7.
great.
Fine.
Can I just have that out of the
6,
8?
There you go.
They're all 8s.
12,
8.
13,
Maths.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Oh my god, you rolled pretty well.
25.
It's going to be hard.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38.
19 so far.
Is that it?
38.
That's it.
38,
And
so
then
19.
divide that, yeah.
So 19. So with that, you watch as like Talis'Val's kind of weaving this magic, and over the hour he kind of filters off parts of it to channel his arcane blast, his eldritch blast, which he hits the remaining sort of giants. And between Reynard's Ballista attack and between the Blight, it actually seems to like thin out the giant numbers quite a lot. Several of them actually end up retreating back, and they're trying to find cover. They're like darting amongst sort of like loose rocks and things like that, trying to get as much cover as they possibly can.
What a good hour.
But with that,
Yeah,
that is another Constitution saving throw for everybody. Your defenders also take some damage.
Out of interest, and I regret asking, do we have any minuses over time? Because we could just keep passing, couldn't we?
Or the DC could keep getting higher.
Christ.
Why would you say that, Tom?
I fail, that's an 8.
Natural 20.
12.
19.
15.
Okay, so Elora and Juto, you both gain 1 level of exhaustion. So you currently have disadvantage on ability checks. The rest of you are fighting fine, but
Hero's Feast.
Mhm.
How does that help with that?
it doesn't.
Okay.
It gives you immunity to
What
poison,
makes
frightened.
exhaustion go away?
So this is, you will be able to regain this if you take rests, but yeah, it is cumulative. You can use spells. Greater Restoration will get rid of some.
Elemental stances. It's 1 minute, so I would have lost, in that hour, I would have lost a stance.
Basically, imagine that each time you use it, it goes, but you don't necessarily need to use the finisher. You can just re-key point to do it again.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so, and then the other one is, so, to represent little bits of damage. God, I'm rolling really high on these attacks. So everybody is going to take another 10 points of damage as these kind of like little, attacks come flying your way.
Chipping away.
Just going to chip away. It's the exhaustion, though, that could potentially be life-threatening as it continues to build.
So we should have plus 20 in total now. 10 of that is temp, and 10 is my aid.
I've gone through my
You
temps.
don't confuse
Yeah.
people by
You've
saying
gone,
stuff like
you've gone
that.
through your temps.
Yeah,
you've
I've
got
gone through the temps and
you've
chipping
got
into the max.
your max.
Yeah.
I'm chipping into the one that you did, which will go in,
Yeah.
5 hours? We're 3 hours in now.
3 hours in, yeah. So 5 hours in. Okay. So, at this point, the attackers have now kind of reached the base of the walls and they're beginning to mount a full assault. But their numbers are really beginning to thin out, and you can see that several of the wizards and things like that are actually pulling some of their forces back to replenish some of their fighting strength. But you can see that the attack is still pressing, and your defenders are still trying to fight them off. You can see them beginning to like do things like push like ladders up, or like get their siege weapons up to the gate, which is beginning to sort of like rock this large battering ram, which is kind of slamming into the gates, and these kind of siege towers with like little steps that lead up to the walls itself. Again, what would everyone like to do for this part of the siege?
I would like to conjure a wall of fire straight across before they just
Well, again,
as they're
because
getting
you
to
can
the wall.
you can get a part of them, yes, but they're kind of mounting the wall in multiple locations.
Well, yeah, but for 60 feet.
Yeah,
Could you do it
along
yeah,
the
for
wall.
sure.
Yeah.
I
I could do it along
Yeah.
whatever looks the weakest point.
Yep.
60 feet.
So you kind of you look down and you find the point where they're starting to erect these ladders in the siege towers, and then the damage on wall of fire is
5d8.
5d8s.
Can I notice that Juto and Alora are exhausted and focus on guiding them?
You've got an hour. You could see them getting physically tired.
I will pick them up with guidance.
So with guidance, that's just an extra d4
Yeah.
to an ability check and things like that.
25.
I mean, I could Greater Restore, but that's like a level 5 spell.
Yeah.
Well, then you don't get rid of their exhaustion. You can give them a benefit to their saving throw at the end of the hour,
How long
but you need to be focusing on like other things as well at the same time.
How long do we need to rest to
It's 8 hours.
8 hours?
It's to get rid of exhaustion.
It's a long
It
rest.
is normally a long rest, but for the purposes of this battle, you can take you can do
One
nothing
round.
for your action, and you lose 1 level of exhaustion.
Okay.
But
Right,
the DC
okay.
still continues to go because
Yeah.
it's representing it's really tough. So how much damage was that? Sorry, Katie?
What did I say? 25?
24, I think you said.
24, okay. Okay, so with that, you incinerate large parts of these siege weapons that are starting to build up, and you can see that that kind of cripples a large part of their offense.
It's 25. I just added the dice again.
Okay, so
Kills the army.
that's an extra one. You watch as it incinerates like large parts of these siege weapons beginning pulling up, and the defenders are cheering. You can see that your defenders are again looking quite injured. Maybe nearly half of them are sort of like have been injured or are beginning to lose a bit of courage, but the other half are still kind of fighting strong. But the enemy army is kind of looking in a similar situation. So that was your action. What do you want to do? Do you want to try and help Elora and Juto?
She did right.
Yeah, spells. It doesn't affect things like spells and stuff right now.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
I'll continue to mass healing word the flagging part of our army.
Okay, great. So roll up that mass healing word.
Next.
9.
9.
Natural 4.
Natural 4.
Okay, so again, you kind of like rush into the tent, you kind of pump out this healing, and several of the soldiers kind of get back up to their feet.
You got this, and you got this.
It's like,
Yeah, you got this.
Yeah! Why don't you, while you're doing that, give me a persuasion check then.
24.
24. So with that, you're kind of like, even the injured ones are just like, yeah, they're failing out there. We can do it. We can do it. And like, this kind of like ripple of positivity is kind of spreading amongst the forces. And yeah, quite a few people seem to be invigorated.
Like, keep focused. Don't get overconfident.
Yeah, no, it's not an overconfidence, but it's like you're kind of reinstilling their fighting vigor as they're getting ready to fight and things like that. Juto.
How are the kind of supplies looking to the defenders on the wall? So I imagine they're shooting down at people trying to mount.
Yeah, now they're doing things like a lot of them are switching to melee weapons and like pushing ladders down or like trying to fight, but they're also being attacked by archery themselves. So quite a lot of the frontline defenders are taking quite heavy casualties.
I'm just wondering whether it's more useful to help them restock ammunition, like using my bag of holding. I can just like shove a load of arrows and stuff in there.
Have somebody
and
dump
run
that
up
in
to
and
the
then run
walls.
that up and then dump it out.
Or is it more valuable if I go around with my healing kit, healing them?
Well, it's up to you. It's both would be useful. You've seen that Cam, like a lot of your guys are injured. In terms of ammunition, they are beginning to kind of get into melee range now. And the archers are still firing, but it's becoming less frequent at this point.
Can I run around healing everyone then?
Yeah. So why don't you make a medicine check for me, please?
And would that be disadvantage?
Yes, it would, because you're currently exhausted.
6.
6. Okay. So you're desperately kind of like chasing after, and you're going into the field hospitals, pulling out bandages. You're bandaging soldiers on the lines, but this tiredness is like really beginning to wear you down, and it's slowing down your movements and everything else. Trelemar.
If I was to do that conjure elemental, could I do that and...
So what you would
fling him
basically be
off into
doing,
the
so you would need to
battle?
basically keep concentration of the spell. Luckily,
Right.
it's an hour, so it works out quite nicely.
Yeah.
Because if you know that if you lose control, the elemental kind of goes a bit berserk.
Okay.
You could easily do that. Yeah, conjure elemental it is. When you turn into one, it's obviously
It could be
different.
useful in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
If you're summoning it down below, I mean, it won't change it. He's still going to attack them as normal. What kind of elemental would you like to summon? Earth, air, fire, or water?
Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you kind of focus the arcane energies for a moment, and using you kind of reach out to Damir and you conjure it, and you find like one of the spellcasters has kind of got like a lit torch that he's leeching flame off, and he's pulling the fire away to throw into fireballs to launch up, and you kind of sense this spark of heat, and you wait, and then the flame begins to suddenly engulf and envelop, and this caster is thrown to the ground as this fiery creature erupts from the fire and begins attacking everybody. So why don't you, for me, roll 2, let's make it 4d6 plus 3.
Blimey. Would you like a fireball? It's a D6.
He loves his weird dice.
What is that about? So that's a 10.
Nice.
Oh, God.
Um, that's 2 6s,
Wow.
so that's a 12, so that's 22.
Nice.
And then, what was
Plus
it?
3.
Plus So that's
+3, yeah.
25 then.
Almost a perfect roll.
Nice.
Okay.
It's horrible. Take it away.
So with that, you watch as this elemental starts just running amok amongst the forces, and he's like burning, incinerating hobgoblins and orcs and broken sky agents. He throws them around, and they have to now divert their attention to this creature that is now attacking them. And a large amount of the force is having to divert and deal with this elemental. Several of the casters are trying to banish it, and you watch as they're desperately trying to deal with that, which will save some of your forces from attacks later on.
So where I am on the walls,
you're currently in like a slightly higher tower, which has like a wider arc looking around.
Oh, I see. So I don't have ladders coming up onto me.
Yeah, no, they do. Yeah.
Oh.
Like they're mounting attacks against the ballistae as well.
How is my ballistae faring? Has it taken a lot of hits?
You're probably like on the last couple of bits of ammunition, but
okay.
you've not been attacked so far. Like you've got defenders, like because they've seen how effective you are. You've got defenders like desperately trying to protect you and fend people off. Grunker's probably amongst them. Like he's literally just like smacking orcs as they come up the things, keeping them off you.
Okay. Right. So
Inspiration.
is could I almost insight the tide of their army to see if they've got any other tricks up their sleeves? Any
Sure.
plans?
Yeah. Give me a perception check on this one.
I almost want to stop it before it happens. No, that's not good. Perception. That's 13.
13. Looking around, you can't see any more tricks really. It looks like you and Trelemar have like really decimated the hill giants who are being like and stone giants who are being much more defensive now.
Yeah.
The siege engines they've all brought to bear as best as they can. The battering rams they don't seem to have anything more that you can expect. It's now just becoming sort of like a swarm up against the walls. But you can definitely see that you probably their force is definitely being quite badly affected. Like you've definitely dealt considerable damage to their forces.
Okay, and they've still got siege engines that are just hitting the walls. Then. In that case, I will just fire at them just to stop them going.
Okay. So, D20 roll plus your dex mod.
Natural 20.
Nice.
Wow. So
you're like a machine gun. Reload me. You've got like 10 men reloading you.
So where's the bag of holding?
a ballistae with a direct hit, which a natural 20 is, deals 60 fighting force.
Holy shit.
Whoa!
That's the best yet.
60
Nice.
what?
60 fighting for like damage to their fighting
Their
force.
army.
You kind of bring the ballista to bear, and you have to aim it, and you can see one of these battering rams coming towards the central gate. And you wait, and you just wait until this armor plating. You notice that every time a certain part of it moves, the armor plating moves ever so slightly, revealing the axle of the wheels. You wait, and then just. It smashes through the wheels, completely cripples the axle. You hear screams coming from inside as like hobgoblins and orcs are trapped under it, and it just completely decimates it. And there's a huge cheer goes out. Grunker kind of like looks back at you like absolutely enamored.
Take
and, like,
me!
It's just like you think it comes at just the right time. Like it's a devastating sort of attack against them. But with that,
Oh no.
Constitution saves for everybody, please.
Is this at disadvantage?
Natural 20!
Saving throws are not attack rolls, so
Natural 20!
Nice. I got 2.
15.
15.
Con save, so 8.
8. So you got a natural 20. What did you get?
3.
So all of you except Alora now gain a level of exhaustion. Kim, for you,
Juto.
sorry, your speed is now halved, so you're struggling to kind of like get
piss
around.
off, mate.
You're just getting super tired.
So what's stage 1 of exhaustion, sorry?
Stage 1 is a disadvantage on ability checks. So
Oh,
skill rolls, anything like skill checks, not saving throws or attack rolls.
Packet of Welsh Kings on him.
Oh, I see, so skills, okay.
Like, no need healing.
And then
have a nibble.
everybody is now going to take 20 points of damage. As the attackers are now on the walls, they're physically starting to. You're kind of being surrounded by these like orcs and hobgoblins and broken sky agents, and they're kind of. You can see that they're frenzied. Like they almost seem inhuman. They're just like shouting nonsense and just and just like tearing into you. And there's so many that you're struggling to kind of defend yourselves as well.
Are they through the gate? No.
They're not through the gate, but they're on the walls is the main thing. And you can see them trying to get down to the gate to take out the defenders and open it up. So they're desperately trying to fend them off. Several of the warcasters that had like brought some of their forces back and the giants, you can see them healing them and they seem to regenerate some of their strength a little bit, but your defenders don't take any additional damage this turn.
Wow, okay. Cool.
But your defenders are looking, about just over a quarter of them are lost.
That was our 4.
So, with this, the attackers make a really strong push. The giants give up, they stop throwing rocks, and the giants now basically barrel towards, and they begin to bring their giant clubs or giant pickaxes, and they're desperately hacking into the walls and tearing chunks of it down, causing your defenders to fall down and things like that. What happens here is that a lot of your forces just take a large chunk of damage in exchange for return fire, effectively. So these guys are going to go to... and you watch as like most of the sort of southern walls, a large portion of it is torn down. You see amongst the number, Dermot is on the main walls commanding, and you watch as he kind of like turns around, and as these hill giants begin hacking away, he's trying to pull some of his soldiers back, but the wall crumbles and he falls down onto the other side of the wall as these giants begin tearing parts of it down with these giant weapons.
Shit.
Quite high, it's probably, I don't know, average height of a big medieval wall, like what, 30, 40 feet?
Yeah.
And he gets kind of torn down with it, and that seems to have a big morale effect on your side of things.
Is there a way I can get to Dermot and like use water whip
Well,
to catch him?
If that's what you want to try and do this for your thing, like trying to like leap over, but with your speed half, that will half all of your speed.
I'm going to shout at Alora, summon the Arborea troops.
Okay.
Because you have the thing.
Well,
don't
you guys can. You've got an hour, so you can coordinate amongst
Yeah.
yourselves as
No?
well what you want to
Do you think now?
It's It's a big push, and we've just lost Dermot.
Well, how much of their army is there? Like, their siege has been pretty decimated. Their hill giants have been pretty decimated. Like,
mean,
I know
looking
there's a
at
lot
it,
of them left. But
I would say, looking at a glance, you reckon they're about half strength.
And what are we?
With that last attack, kind of the same.
Yeah.
You guys are about even footing at this
I
moment.
think we need to swing
One
it.
of them?
Centaurs.
Centaurs.
So,
Do you think?
I think maybe the
It's a group
wings.
decision because this is our big hitter. So
I think
I reckon we go hard, but we save them still
yeah,
until it's desperate.
they will
I-
stay with us for the rest of the battle, I guess, wouldn't they? Once they're summoned, they're there.
Once they're summoned, they're there, but once they die, you can't get them back. Like, they go back to Arborea, basically. So they're kind of like a one-time, you get a big boost, and
I
then they
reckon the
become
next
less
round,
effective.
see how this resolves. If it's bad,
But while we've still got half and half, I think we should tip it. Because what if we lose more? Then it'll just be back on an even footing, not an advantage.
true.
Okay, well,
And would having that extra cavalry come in, is that going to boost morale for
Yeah,
the
Good.
troops?
Where we
since
just
Dermot's
lost
gone.
it.
Yeah.
If we're going to summon it, I reckon
I
we
think
summon the
now.
centaurs.
Yeah.
Centaur. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Winged elves for the Falania.
I think the centaurs, and I think that it should be not from inside the walls, but from like
Outside coming in.
yeah.
you can do that.
Rear flank.
So it basically,
The Riders of Rohan.
that would be Alora, or whoever wants to do it. You can pass the token. You can pass Karg's horsehair thing to anybody.
I'll pass it to who wants it.
Probably me, because I'm
You're
so...
knackered.
Yeah,
I will
I'm
pass
knacked,
it
mate.
to Juto.
That will be your thing, because it's not just summoning them, it's
Yeah.
telling them what you want them to
Yeah.
do, it's coordinating them and everything else.
So I will
Okay.
do that.
So, Juto, you take a moment, you get the thing, you speak the name, Kagar, come and help us, or whatever it is you want to say, and then there is basically a rip in space, happens just outside the walls, sort of like several, 100 feet away, this kind of rip, and you watch. It takes, maybe about 25 minutes, 30 minutes from when you speak it for this to happen.
I guess they
But
have to assemble.
They basically assemble, but they seem mostly ready to go. Like, basically this force of only about 50 to 100 of these centaurs, but they come charging out with longbows, spears, and they come in. You see this particularly proud, tall one with the long flowing black hair just kind of raise a fist towards you, on the battlements. He kind of just raises a fist, and then he pulls out the flaming bow of Ifrit, and just woof, 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 and they begin charging in.
Can I sort of direct them to go where Dermot was to see if they can save
Yeah, you
Dermot?
can try and do that.
Yeah.
So if you want them to try and rescue him, then obviously some of them won't be fighting.
No,
So-
I'll get them to fight.
Okay,
Fight.
so that deals 100 points of fighting force damage to those guys because it's one of your big hitters. but that's it, you've used that now. They'll continue to do damage as well for the rest of the battle. So they're basically charging around their flanks, hunting down the giants, hunting down the spellcasters. They hit the side of the flanks with spears and lances where they can.
Premium army shit.
Does it affect their morale because it's like they're suddenly like, oh shit, what is this?
Morale is counted into fighting
Have you got
force.
anything that can help Dermot? Who's dealing with Dermot?
I mean,
That's the thing.
I don't want to be that guy.
It's morale for the us.
Okay.
Does Fruit Fly count?
I don't
Do we
use it
want to
for
use
this.
that?
All right, well, while you're thinking Trell, because Trell's not going to do it.
What's happening
So at
with
the moment,
my,
the-
my fiery thing?
So he's just he after an hour he does go away, I think, by the spell. But even if he doesn't, he would have been killed. Like
just-
over
he just
an
gets
hour, he
bored
does his
and wanders
damage.
off.
Like he goes around smacking the guys, and that
Goes
was
to
the
the pub.
20-odd points of damage you dealt.
Nice.
But then he basically either gets killed or he just fades away as part of the spell. But it's a kind of one and done thing.
Did you say there were like towers coming towards us?
They're at the walls and they're starting to, forces are pouring out of them. So you can see these orcs and hobgoblins with this kind of imagery are now charging around up on the walls. Some of them have been fighting at you and you've been blasting them away and stuff like that. But it's getting risky and you've taken a lot more sort of like cuts and bruises and things like that.
Just some eldritch blasts. Yeah,
Okay.
there and everywhere.
Okay. So with this, if you're just going to target random people, just roll it, but it will do half damage.
No, just roll the damage, me.
No, wait, you roll to see if you hit a base AC as well, because it's like you're kind of targeting individuals. It's not as effective as just hitting large swathes of troops.
There's a 29, a 24, and a 14.
Okay, so all but the 14 will do damage, but it will be half damage. So 2d10 plus your normal, your normal damage, just half.
That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
19 halved, so
9. Is it
9.
round down or
Yeah, we'll round up for the sake of it. Okay. So you're kind of desperately trying to fight these things, but there's so many of them. They're constantly like spawning around you. You're blasting, constantly draining yourself of magic to just keep them away from you and the other defenders. But yeah, you're not sure how much of a big effect that's had on the wider battle.
I'm going to run up to where the wall crumbled and look down and see if I can see Dermot.
Okay, so you run up and you're kind of dodging out of the way of like these blows as people take swipes at you, which is factored in at the end. As you're kind of like dodging and weaving around, you look down and you can see that there is a large portion of the crumbled wall, but you can see Dermot is like basically his lower half is trapped underneath a bunch of rubble, and he's just like he's fending off like these hobgoblins who are trying to kill him while he's trapped, and he's got his short sword and a long sword, and he's desperately trying to keep them off him, but his arms are getting cut to shreds.
I'll do it.
I'm going to call in Allura.
Okay.
Leave it. I'll do it. I'll do my
I'm going
action.
to cast Death Ward on him.
Okay, so you kind of rush up. It's also you getting there and then looking down is kind of represented in
So
the
I'm
app.
going to protect
So
him
you look
from
down, you cast Death Ward on him. That takes effect. Just keep that in mind if anything happens to him. What are you doing?
I'm going to. So how far down is it that he is?
About like 30, 40 feet.
Okay. I'm going
And he's like
to.
trapped underneath all this kind of crumbled wall around him.
Can I? No, I can't do both.
Well, what is it? What would you want to do? Because you have an hour.
Because
Like
the
it's,
wall's crumbled down completely, hasn't it?
it's not completely. It's like half of it's been torn
Half of
down, and
it.
he was just stood on the wrong part. as it
Okay,
got
so there is still a wall. That's
weakened wall, but yes, there is still partly defences there. They haven't breached the walls yet.
okay. In which case, I'm gonna go Earth Elemental,
Okay.
drop down, pull Dermot out, and put him back. Like
Okay.
get him inside the walls,
Okay.
and then for the rest of this hour, just smash the shit out of people
Okay.
in Earth Elemental.
So you Earth Elemental form, you jump down, you easily slap away the hobgoblins around him, you grab him, you kind of vaguely hear him sort of saying like, can't feel legs, and then you just drag him, like burrow through, like you
Put
kind
him
of
towards Cam then. If I hear him say that, I'll put him towards Cam.
you kind of burrow through. It takes a lot of your time. Make a attack as your Earth Elemental form, but deal half damage.
I'm just imagining like the Hulk just jumping down.
So, does it
Almost
also,
like
do I
that.
have to roll for attack?
You do still have to roll to see how many of them you kind of affect, basically. So it's an attack roll as normal.
20 to hit.
Yep, that's going to, you kind of just tear through several of them throughout the rest of the hour.
Do I do both
Half
hits?
damage. Yeah, you roll,
No?
so yeah, you can roll for 2 attacks, but just half the damage of everything.
10. So 20 damage, so 10 damage overall.
10 damage.
Half.
Okay. So again, it's that thing of like you're taking out lots of hobgoblins, but there's so many, it's difficult to kind of make a big difference. But yeah, just smashing through, you kind of get the morals and you drag down the back, who is still alive at this point. You think that if he had been left down there for an hour, he'd probably be dead, like dead. So you drag him and pull him away. So that's you. You did the Death Warden, was finding where he'd gone. You've summoned the army. You did Eldritch Blasts.
So I'll
Just hanging around.
pick off people.
So at this point, they're now they're trying to get to you on the Ballistae, and you think that, like after this, you're not sure if you'll be able to remain mounted on it.
Then I'll use it for the last second that I can, or last hour that I can, and just focus down just anything
remaining. Like there's still like there's the siege towers, which have got people spilling out onto the walls. You could easily take down one of those.
Can I crumple some of those?
Yep, sure. So make a d20 roll plus Dex mod. 6. This one, like, you clip some of the hobgoblins and things like that. You still do a little bit of damage because the Ballistae is like penetrates through, but it's not an awful lot. The bolt just doesn't connect with the siege weaponry, and at this point you are forced to abandon it as like Grunker is like, Reynard, we've got to go. Like she's smacking all these hobgoblins away, but they are literally like on the Ballistae trying to do this at you, and they're wrecking the Ballistae itself.
Okay.
Okay, so Constitution saves all around, please.
If I'm a nurse, though.
You use the Earth Elemental's Constitution save, but you're still tired.
7.
At this point, this is the 5th hour you've been fighting in a row. You are knackered. It is very hard, like the DC at this point is very high.
24. Elemental's got better than me.
11.
10.
7.
14.
Okay, everybody but Alora, it's another level of exhaustion. So Juto, you are currently disadvantaged on attack rolls and saving throws. Everybody else, your speed is halved, so it's really hard getting anywhere, and you're being constantly attacked.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not good.
Okay, this time you're basically, whilst you're being swarmed by these things, the remaining defenses, the Ballistae, the catapults and things have basically been overrun. You do manage to kind of avoid some of the blows. Like now that you're fighting, you're being much more aware of your own defenses. So you only take 15 points of damage.
That's not Earth Elemental.
And that goes off Earth Elemental for you. So you're kind of defending yourselves more focused, but...
Because it's half damage with...
Yeah, if you've got resistance to...
So 15, so it would be...
7.
I'm gonna have to take a rest.
Yeah, you probably will
definitely.
do. It makes it a little bit easier. So, in terms of fighting forces, your defenders are still fighting back, and you estimate that maybe like 3/4 of the enemy strength is gone at this point. But your forces are looking about the same as well. If your forces completely fail, the attackers breach and will overrun the walls, and basically you'll be forced back and it'll be a loss. So you might want to think about trying to rally some of the guys. Like you can see people like you see soldiers panicking, like holding like injured friends or dead friends, and just like, oh, we can't fight them, there's too many, and like people are starting to panic. Like, you know, the medics are desperately trying to pull people away.
I'm going to forego my rest and go amongst the crowds and mass cure wounds this time.
Okay, so roll that up. And then give me a persuasion check.
I don't suppose I could use my inspiration, could I? To kind of rest and take an action.
I really wish I hadn't given it to you because I hate inspiration as a mechanic. It's a really
What
dumb
do you do?
thing. I will say you can do, yes, sure. A, to get rid of it, and B, but what do you want to do it? Like inspire everybody else? Or?
Would it be more valuable if I like set fire to stuff?
I mean, you can do that if you want to attack stuff.
No, I want to inspire people.
Okay.
So, so I'm 2 exhaustion now, and then...
Oh, no, it wouldn't get rid of exhaustion.
Oh, okay.
Inspiration. It would basically, you can use it to inspire everybody around you, and I'll just have it as a success, basically, that you inspire people around you, rather than making a roll for it.
I will do that.
Okay. What you get on your healing, Cam?
22.
22.
Is max as well.
Okay, so this time you kind of whoosh this wave of healing energy, and you kind of focus on the elite-looking soldiers, the ones who have definitely like a bit
Does
more
that count for
experienced.
these guys?
It's up to Cam if he wants to heal.
Or does it count for the force? Do it for the force.
The force.
Yeah, so you're going to do it for the army,
many people
basically.
as
So
you
you focus on the defenders, you channel all this energy, and yeah, you basically send out this wave of healing energy. And then just give me a persuasion check as well.
Just damn it in that wheel.
You can include them in it, but yeah, it will diminish the amount of healing
Natural
everybody
one?
else gets. Okay, so you kind of like send out this healing, and everybody's feeling invigorated. But as you're trying to call out, you're like, "Yeah!" It's getting drowned in like shouts and orders and commands, and you're
We're all
just,
gonna die.
"Yeah," but it just kind of gets lost amongst everything else.
Okay.
Juto, so you also then kind of take everybody aside. What do you kind of want to shout? I'll roll for you.
Probably something from Braveheart.
Okay. Well, if you can't think of anything,
Do this for your city.
Yeah.
Do this for your brethren.
Aragorn's speech in front of the gates of Mordor.
Yeah.
like
Go.
today is not,
It is
today,
not
not this
this
day,
day.
that
No.
kind of thing. So you kind of give out this roaring speech, and the people have seen you running around the battlefield, and yeah, people listen. They take heart. Some of the soldiers are reinvigorated, and they surge back onto the walls, pushing down the hobgoblins and all.
What she
fighting
said.
back. Kind of a bit lost. So that's the two of you done.
So I guess it's either rest or fight through the walls.
Yeah, I mean, you would basically, if you do nothing, you can recover 1 level of exhaustion.
So I've still got 3.
Yeah, unfortunately, like you see, you're going around like, but rather than rolling, I just said use your inspiration, you'll succeed automatically.
Cool. Thanks for the inspiration.
All right, I want to.
Nobody will ever
I've-
get inspiration again.
I've crossed it off now. I don't have it anymore.
Thank you.
It's gone.
Had it for about a year.
I also want to forego my rest, and I'll tell the people around me to push instead of now defending me, who has a ballista that's useless. To then push outwards, and I'll use my bronze griffin.
Okay.
And as I fly around basically I'm sort of actively following them as they push back against the horde that's on the walls, and just picking off anything that's in the way with my crossbow.
Okay. So again, make an attack roll, like as in like a normal attack roll with your crossbow bolt.
Okay, so that's 17.
He thought he rolled bad and went, oh, with my attack. That's fine then.
My auto hit.
And 1d8 plus 6.
Do I have time to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, do it now.
I
Really?
drank too much water.
You've got like,
Go on quickly.
not long.
Am I done? I'll wait until the donations.
And a
Got 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's
14. Is my hunter's mark still dancing
It can be
around?
because you can just cast it, right? Like if you've got the spell slots, you can just cast
Well,
it
if
again.
he was doing it so then
You'd
the
have to
person
cast it. You'd
died
have to
and
cast
then-
it again because it's been over an
fine.
hour. So you can just cast it again.
That's 23 damage.
So
Nice.
halved because it is a normal melee weapon. 20. So
Is it halved?
it is. Yeah, it's 11 because you're using like you're picking off individuals. You're not fighting like big
Should I
groups.
stay, should I stay in that?
Maybe borrow. Terrible. I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm flying.
Hulk
around.
smash.
It's just
You got any more tricks?
Could I finger something to death?
You're going to cast Finger of Death.
Yeah.
Is it a single
'cause
target or is it lots
It's
of
a
different
single
things?
target though.
Then you can.
Yeah.
You can go after a
turn
giant.
them
You can
into
go
a
after a
zombie.
giant and stuff like that with it. You
Yeah.
could probably kill a giant single-handedly.
But it also says as well, if you kill something, it turns into a zombie that's under your command. So you could kill something and then turn it.
That sounds pretty cool.
So
You
can
walk
I?
around the
Definitely do
battlefield,
it to a
So,
giant if
like,
you do
you
that.
basically see one of the giants, a large stone giant, grey skin, kind of bald head, kind of almost like crystals embedded into its skull, and it's just like tearing with these 2 pickaxes at the walls. You look down at it.
You!
What kind of saving throw is it?
Constitution.
And your DC is 16, right?
Yeah.
It's a failure. So, how much damage does it do?
7d8 plus
Oh my
30.
Holy shit, it's dead.
There's 3.
My spells are D8s.
Hang on, what's that?
Like
That's
when these big
5.
spells happen, everyone just
6,
throws their dice at
7.
someone.
I like it's a group effort.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up my
It's not
scrolls.
mine.
You haven't. Oh my god!
Holy shit.
So
What?
3, we've got 3,
All of my
3,
dice rolled 8.
3
Oh my
8s.
god! That is some
Add it up.
good
So
So
damage.
that's 24, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29,
Technically 4
30,
8s.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, plus the 30.
So 70.
70.
So normally, 70 points of damage wouldn't kill a giant, but for the sake of this being a big battle and you constantly, like, you know, this is assuming you probably blasted it with Eldritch Blast for like the last like 20 minutes, and then you cast Finger of Death at it. So it was 70 points.
Wow.
That you watch as the morale of the Broken Sky forces kind of crumbles pretty badly as Trelemar just looks down and with a finger that's black ray, just you watch as this stone giant, its skin turns black, its veins begin to bulge, its eyes bulge out of its head, and it collapses to the ground, and then you just gesture, it stands back up and then starts attacking its own
What
forces.
sassy thing do you say? Come on, you've
You
got
have to have a
something.
line with this.
Yeah.
Classic
Or like a
Trell.
sexy grin, like a, yeah.
Well, I mean, getting it to come up by going like that is kind of...
I don't know. Just get fingered.
There you go. So
Classic.
you've actioned. So
I would like to, because I'm still an elemental, I would like to make the most of this by trying to be at the walls to sort of. So I imagine they're sort of trying to get the walls down at this point.
yeah, well they're
And
either
I'd like
coming
to
over it or they're taking down gates and stuff. Yeah,
Reinforce that, and if anything comes near me, just Hulk
you're almost
smash
kind of like blocking
for,
any
like,
kind of gaps that they make
yeah.
and just smashing anything that comes
just
by.
smashing anything that's near me. I want
Okay.
to spend just trying to defend and
Okay.
I guess
So what
be
I'll
a big elemental to hopefully make the people feel better.
Yeah, so you find like, it's almost like a whole hole, like these two giants, one of which Trelemar just killed, have kind of torn like a huge hole in the walls through these weapons, and you now kind of just stand in the way and you're just smacking these hobgoblins that try and breach. Make an attack roll as normal, and deal damage, like half damage, but
15.
yeah, that's enough, yep. So roll your normal damage, but half it because it's
it's
not as
all
effective.
So
But I will also have it so that you defend damage.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 27.
27, so half, that's going to be 10, 14.
14
so.
rounded up, yeah.
Okay, so and then the other thing I will say is, rather than dealing damage to your defenders, you're going to take another 20 points of damage in
Can
Earth
I
Elemental
take
form.
more damage than them as a
Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah.
saying, is you're like blocking. So you take 20 extra damage, so you're going to take 20 damage now,
Yeah,
but
is
you
that halved?
save... No, this is,
Okay.
that's halved
that's
already, because you're being battered by like loads of stuff.
And
But
then-
that will save 20 damage off of your defenders, basically.
Yep.
Your
Nice.
fighting force
Can I
defenders.
take more than 20 damage?
Do you want to?
Hit me more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather
So
me
rather
take
than defending
it than
yourself, you just don't even try, you just...
I'll defend them more than
Okay, so you'll take 40, so not 20,
Another-
40. So
Okay.
yeah, another 20, and you can save that from the defenders. So you're kind of blocking the path, just absorbing these blows. At the end of the hour, it's Constitution saves for everybody.
Disadvantage for me?
Yes, now it's disadvantage for you because you've got thingy.
that was a fail now.
Natural one. I mean,
6.
that's the third.
I mean, to be honest, at this point the DC is so high, I don't think
50.
most of you can pass.
15.
15. All of you gain another level of exhaustion. Juto, your hit point maximum is now halved.
Whoa!
So
She rested it.
She didn't.
Oh, you
No, you
she
didn't.
didn't.
You did
She used
the-
inspiration.
Rest
stage
is
2
fine.
is half attack power?
Stage 2 is speed
Sorry,
halved.
stage 3.
Stage 3 is disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. But this is now the 6th hour. Chris Trott, can you roll a d6 for me?
Yes. 4.
4, okay. What's your hit point half?
47. So I was on 56 before that. So does it come down to 47?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So
Oh, sorry, how much
Siege.
damage do you all take then?
that's the next thing I needed to work out actually. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh,
Especially
Wow.
since I just rolled a natural 20. So that is going to be 30 points of damage to everybody as you are now being swarmed. However, with Kagar's forces and the defenders' forces, it is enough to break the enemy army.
Yes!
It just breaks it. You would have potentially had another hour of fighting, which at this point you
Was
would get
bad.
really bad.
Yeah.
However, Kagar's army is harassing them from behind, the heroes that you've acquired, like Sverrir and Korak, have all been contributing to the amount of damage that your regular defenders do.
Okay.
Like I've been dealing damage for them each turn as well. Between them, between the Finger of Death, which was a big thing, and also Elora blocking that damage, your defenders only had about, just like around 40 to 50 points of damage. So you actually pretty much saved them as well.
Snap decision.
So you kind of block most of that damage. Between all of that, you watch as the Broken Sky forces retreat. They begin pulling away. Your
Chase
forces
them.
are so injured that Korak says, "Do not pursue. Fall back, regroup, form defenses." Kagar and the Centaurs do harass for a time, but then they begin backing off as well and making their way in. The walls are standing but are very badly damaged. Like most of them have collapsed and they are in a bad state. But for the time being, you have defended Talis'Val. But this is just one day. There's 6 hours.
That's a
Everybody is
long
tired.
Could we get a roll call?
A roll call is in, you want to see who is okay. You can
Well,
send
I'm flying
messages.
around, so I'm like,
I'm with Dermot,
Dermot is very badly injured. He is alive but
keeping
injured.
him stable at the moment.
It looks like his legs have probably been broken. And he can't really move them. But he is standing and is still giving orders.
Hang in there, buddy.
Korak is injured in the same way that all of you were being injured. He's been the same as well. Grunker is injured, but Barbarian Rage means that she barely is touched, quite frankly. So currently all the allies you're aware of seem safe. But I'm assuming that you will take rests after this. The enemy army seems to be resting, so you take a long rest. Juto, everybody recovers 1 level of exhaustion.
so,
In fact, actually, no,
Before
all
we-
levels of exhaustion. I'll be kind.
Yeah, before
Even
I was
me?
going to agree to restoration.
And then does
That
that,
was more of a threat for this particular siege. Like,
does
Should we
that
say
return my
in
max
terms of-
HP?
Yeah, what's
yeah, that
happening
goes
for...
away as well.
In terms of making sense, I'll great restore and then go to sleep.
Yeah,
to
it would
get
make
rid of
sense. So
people's
everybody
exhaustion.
kind of like gets rid of
Yeah,
stuff.
I can do that
Mechanically,
too.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not quite, because you'd have to cast it a few times, but yeah, well, it works
Well, I
out.
could cast it twice.
So
You
we're
could
fully
cast
Yeah,
it
that's true,
10
yeah.
We've
times,
still
so-
got.
You're fully healed. You've got
Heroes
exhaustion's gone.
We still
Hero's
have-
Feast is still technically in effect,
But the extra 10 on top
but
of
we're
that.
going to kind of time skip it a little bit. The defenders desperately try and build additional structures.
Okay.
They are trying to rally healing troops. You've maybe got half of your defensive force, but then the enemy force has been really badly obliterated. But there is a worrying air as Korak and the others approach you. I have seen many battles in my time, and that one was intense. However, and he gestures to the enemy army, which is camping maybe a couple of miles out, and you can see that they're already re-prepping to attack. We defeated them quite badly, and yet they seem very eager to attack us. I have a feeling that Falania has more forces yet to deploy. And with that, we will end today.
Oy.
Ready for next week.
Oh,
but
boy.
very well done. Very well done. Some clutch spells. and
Yeah.
Some good choices in what you did.
Some good shit.
So that was actually a good victory then. Or...
You absolutely. So it could have gone either ways. Either you survive until the end of the siege, which is the 8th hour, and if the enemy's fighting strength was under half, you win. The other way is you completely destroy their fighting strength, which is a victory. If they had got to hour 8 above half their strength, they would have taken the city, or the walls at least. Likewise, if your defenders had reached 0, it would have gone back. All those little heals that Cam and Juto were doing actually kept your defenders going. Like,
I mean,
they
if
would
were
have
only 50
broken.
away, like...
Yeah, they would have
I think
broken.
we split the duties pretty well between attacking and defending.
So we're going to read some donations. I can't read it super well because there's a poll in the way, but I'll do my best. Nightjar, thank you very much. Ran home from work only for high rollers. Thank you, Nightjar. Nightjar actually took off the last few weeks. Like, she's swapped her shifts.
Oh,
I want to say thank you to Nightjar because she sent in she sent me a little Lego luggage, thank
Welsh
you,
cakes.
and a whole bunch of Welsh cakes for the
Add
team.
some
So
on.
thank you,
I
Nightjar.
Thank you.
It kept us going.
Thank you, Nightjar. Olarenve, also thank you very much. No message. That Swag Elf donated. Glad to see you guys back again this week. Kind of sad that the Lightfall campaign is almost over, but can't wait to see what's next in store for you all. Thank you very much, that Elf.
Thank you.
Dancing on Fire has donated. I'm here like you told me to be last week. I mean, I'm here every week. Anyway, but that's beside the point. You all look like you're having fun today. Well, I don't know about that by the end. Everyone's like,
fun.
It was good. It was well made. The mass battle.
Riding the wave.
Here's the wave.
Yeah.
And I'll read one more. Zafir 1. I sadly slept through last week's episode. Time zones are a bitch, so here's a donation for last week. Caught up with the VOD, and may I just say, just now, holy shit, Trell's back! Anyway, here's to a siege with as few player deaths as possible. Player deaths was never an issue for a big siege. It's hard to take out individuals.
Well, Dermot almost went.
Which way do we go now?
That no legs.
This new setup.
Frank the NPC has
Clockwise.
stated, I was so sad to have missed last week live. Welcome back, Matt. Good to see you. Looking forward to all this wrapping up. There you go. Bam goes D&D. For all those who can't donate but want to, we love you, high rollers. P.S. Think you made a dice roll for my successful dentist visit a couple of weeks ago. Guess what? It failed. Infected nerve right in my
You
face.
did, you rolled really badly for their dentist appointment. That's
God,
awful.
Reynard, why?
Bob Thorgon 12, part 1. Hey there, high rollers. Can't wait to see the big climactic battle. Should be great. Wishing you all lots of luck and many nat 20s. Not so much to mark. I have a question for you all. I've recently started a campaign with some of my friends. Part 2. I play an elf wizard who's also a human rogue, and there was a dwarf ranger as well, but I killed him. Context is needed there. Anyway, our party does not work well together at all, and I was wondering if you had any tips on how to change that.
Have a conversation out of character about, you know, why that's maybe not the case. Like, ultimately D&D is a team game, and whilst you want to play individuals, you kind of need to have characters that work together, so find reasons to make
find
it
a
work.
compromise.
So,
Like, you
like-
can't just be so dedicated
Yeah.
to your character that you're gonna fuck other people over.
Yeah, so like with Dead Reckoning, I don't know if this is going to be the same, but obviously Worthless was kind of at odds with the group.
Yeah.
So we had a chat behind the scenes kind of going, oh, I think I've kind of, you know, I'm not doing the right thing here. So we had a chat as to how to resolve that.
Bring
which
that back
I
in. And
feel
like you can
we
talk
did.
to involve the DM with that conversation because
Yeah.
he can help, or he or she can help with that.
Yeah.
Or they can help with that, I
yeah.
should say.
Death Dave 41. Woo, good old Baltier. Haha. Yeah. Techie Reed has donated saying, "Hi gang, can't be around due to Mother's Day. We'll catch on the VOD tomorrow. Matt, good to see you back last week. Best prop."
Best prop.
Doesn't even need batteries.
Zalarus. Wish I could catch the stream, but been watching since the beginning. But I have a weekly radio show to do, and I wish you all fantastic luck. Any song recommendations for next week? If you have no license issues, then
You're welcome.
You're not welcome.
Battle for Helm's Deep, surely.
Yeah. The whole thing. Thanks so much. My show's on literature as well, by the way. I love Mark's stories. There you go. Waldwasser donated a little something for Talis'Val, Reconstruction and Restoration Fund. I feel we might need one. Good luck.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
I'll do one more. Kragos, hey guys, long time fan, first time watching. You've helped me through some recent dark times, and I thank you for that. Good luck to the campaign, and Reynard, you better get with Groncraft for that battle.
Gone before the battle.
There's more.
Well, not
Oh, it didn't run, that's true, yeah, right.
It's an honourable day.
It's my head cannon.
We don't know.
The Wasted Ninja. Hey guys, love the stream. Just wanted to chip in and say thanks for all you do. I'm currently waiting on hearing from my dad as he was sent into casualty today. I need something to keep me worrying. I'm sorry to hear that, Wasted Ninja.
Hopefully
Good
everything's
luck with
okay.
everything.
Sending best wishes.
And Greater Restoration? One of them. We'll send Cam. Frank the NPC has donated. I never expected the sweet Cam death to be at the hands of Lady Amy.
We survived the whole battle, everything's fine, and then she just breaks my neck.
I have dragon strength, bitch.
Or just eats
Yeah,
me.
it turns into a dragon, just eats you.
Yeah.
Metamanu has donated, but no message. And a very nice donation as well. Thank you very much, Metamanu. And I'm sorry I pestered you on Overwatch.
Lol.
He declined my group request. Varys has donated. Just a quick message from just before the battle. Good luck, please don't die.
We didn't yet.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Keep going, quick.
Sharanarama has donated a $250. Donating before all this kicks off. Whatever happens, we are all here for you. We believe in Talis'Val and all of you. Love all of you lots and go kick some broken sky ass.
Thank you.
Ace of Thorns donated. Brave words all, but I would have used the battle saying of the Valkyrie from Battle Beyond the Stars. Life fast, fight well, and have a beautiful ending. The last of those three things is what I'm anticipating when the dust clears. Hugs to all. Davidees donated, pre-battle donation, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uber Frackle donated, genuinely couldn't have asked for a better group of guys to watch play out this amazing story. Thanks guys, love you all. P.S. If there isn't a Talis'Val Last Supper t-shirt coming, I'll riot.
Do you know what? I was actually thinking it would be a pretty amazing
really good
poster.
poster.
Right, as a poster, it'd be really cool
my
to do.
God.
We'll speak to Nina and see if we can do it.
Oh my god.
DVD01
Whoa.
CD01 donated a hundo. Thank you very much.
DVD1001.
Jake Cross donated. I can't do the whole.
Okay.
There it is.
I can't believe I'm working for this episode. Guess it's the VOD squad for me.
Enjoy.
Simple Ross
You're not
donated. Hi guys, how are you? Great stream as always. A question for Mark. Do you have any
you
tips?
You need, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, is it?
Simple Ross
Oh, yeah,
does,
sorry.
yeah.
Hey, been watching on Yogs Live, and this is my first live episode. Mark, you are a wizard, and you have inspired me to DM my first game and introduce my friends to the game, and they love it. Thank you all so much. P.S. Glad Tel's back. But
Good old Tell. My favourite
is my
favourite
boy.
character.
Wow.
Tell him all.
Face off.
yeah.
Tell him Eve.
Ozchi donated. Hi guys, how are you? Great stream as always. Question for Mark. Do you have any tips for getting over writer's block? I want to create a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon TRPG, but all I have so far is PCs, Wake Up in a Cave, the odd NPCs, and Guild Hall ideas.
Sadly, I don't. I suffer from writer's block really badly. I'm currently got it a little bit with
Where
new
is this
stuff.
writer's block?
It's really hard. Just try and take some rest. Try and like get your mind off it.
Yeah,
and
go do
focus on
something
other
else.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Distraction.
Or just power through it, which is what a lot of writers say. Is just you sit down,
Keep writing.
and you just keep writing. You can throw away its garbage, but keep writing.
Yeah.
Messed up Murphy Markisms. So I didn't catch any Markisms today due to a delayed train. I'm not sure there was any.
I don't think there was.
Maybe
Damn.
off the rails. Anyway, if I catch any of the VOD, I'll be sure to remind you next stream or today if you have any Markisms in the next 25 minutes. Great stream as usual. Thank you very much. The Nord's house. So, full-scale battle for the city walls. Love the way you did this, Mark.
I wanted to have like a big like diorama with city walls, but I couldn't get it made in time. I wanted to have like a cool thing and show stuff, but I just couldn't do it in time.
It was
That's all right.
still
He's
very,
fine.
very cool.
Theatre of the Mind!
Yeah, Sharon Arama, quarter hundo.
Thank you.
You've made it. You've made it a day, everyone. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Concerning, but I'm proud
It's
of
not
all of
even
you.
a
I like the
day.
way you're handling the battle mechanics, Mark. Nicely done. Can't wait for next week. Love you all. The grass is green. Thank you very much. I've done again. Epic battle, guys. Well done, Mark, for keeping chat on the bleeding edge. Can't wait for the thrilling conclusion. And Florent 10. Hey guys, after my exams, I'm back to watching live, and I got good grades to boot.
Whee.
Congrats. I have final exams coming up in a month and a half, which I'm not looking forward to. But until then, I'll be looking forward to some great D&D adventures from you guys. Thank you very much. I will do one more. Zafir 1. Holy fuck, you guys, that was a truly epic episode. I had goosebumps the whole time. Mark equals best DM, and you are all amazing players. Can't wait for next week. That siege imagery was just so powerful. We can't forget the finger of death. For Talis'Val!
Nice.
For Talis'Val!
Tucker 2025. Can't donate much, but that was epic. Can you release details on how you did the siege mechanics at some point, as I was looking to do something similar in a game? P.S. Blade, welcome back, Matt. I actually will probably release it on my Patreon, Tucker, because like I post up some of my D&D stuff there, and it's quite rough, so it's not something I can officially publish, but I'll probably throw it up somewhere on my Patreon. The Artist 1997, unfortunately can't watch today, but I wanted to leave this for you guys. Thank you guys, love you guys, thank you very much. And then Varys donated again. My God, this battle was intense. Can't wait for the next episode. Thank you.
Yes.
Murmur to you.
Murmur to you.
Murmur to you. Blow the horn of Erebor. Great battle. Can't wait for next week. Holy shit. Awkward dog boner. This week's boner rating. Wartime out of 20. Arthur calculating hardwood profit and Cam being a C word before raging hard-on moment. I can die a happy dog if Trell gives me that finger. Erection rejection moment. Juto crying for her leaked news. Hashtag bone on Sunday.
God bless you.
The noodles are out.
And then last one, Nightjar donated 2 years ago, give or take a few days. Juto was in Arborea with Guan Yin, still one of my favourite episodes. Thank you all for helping me get through each week, one wonderful Sunday at a time. Thank you very much, Nightjar.
Very much, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us. We will be back next week for more High Rollers. Sadly, no Chris Trott, but hopefully you can still join us, Matt.
Yeah.
So we will have Matt there as things get a little bit worse for everyone in Talis'Val.
Yeah.
See you next time.
I get it. Bye.